Okay, we're going to go ahead and call to order the city.
Sorry. Is that one working?
Is this one working? That one's working.
You got to speak closer. Pull it closer to you, Shelley.
Okay. Oh,
Don't be
geez.
afraid.
Okay.
Thank you.
Call to order the city council regular meeting of Tuesday, February 18th at 6:12 p.m. City clerk, can you do a roll call, please?
Mayor Hasselbrink,
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Doby,
Here.
Councilmember Hibbard,
Here.
Councilmember Lowe,
Here.
Councilmember Nafolda.
Here.
Please stand with us while Mayor Pro Tem Doby gives the Pledge of Allegiance, followed by the invocation by Councilmember Hibbard.
All right, y'all join me in saluting the greatest flag on the planet. Right hand over your heart. Let's go. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Heavenly Father, we come before you tonight grateful to live, like my colleague said, in the greatest country on earth. Father God, I'm thankful for my colleagues who I get to sit up here beside, and for the staff that put so much of their time and their dedication and their heart into helping manage this city. For everyone here today, residents and friends alike, Lord God, thank you that it's on their heart to be a part of this city, and together we all get to share in that. Lord, it's an honor to live in this country, and we ask for wisdom. The Bible says if anyone needs wisdom, he just needs to ask. So tonight we ask you for wisdom as we're reviewing city business. Lord God, help us to be unbiased and neutral and vote in favor of things not for ourselves, not for selfish motivations, but for the constituents that we represent, that we have the honor of representing. Pray this in the name of Jesus. Amen.
Thank you. Okay, we're going to move stuff up just a little bit because we've got little kids in the back, and I'm sure they're just tantalized by this entire meeting. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to do the Business Mayor Spotlight. This is a free business recognition program designed to create awareness about the variety of local businesses we have here in Los Alamitos. You know, we love our small businesses. They bring the character that we so desperately appreciate in our city. The Business Spotlight is a great way for the city to say thank you, showcase great businesses in Los Al, and also provide another tool to help our businesses grow. This month's recognized business is Donut Boss. So I'm going to bring Kevin and his wife. Come on up. Okay, now these donuts are bomb. Nice to meet you. Oh, so Donut Boss is just down the street a bit. When I went to go meet with Kevin and kind of see their operation, they'd already had their frequent guests. Surprisingly, they're from Los Al PD, but that's okay. Yeah, that's surprising. Like I say, their donuts are bomb. They've got all kinds of things on there, and this is just a great couple that has just come into the city and offered. They have a dual drive-through for donuts, so you don't even need to get out of your car to get the deliciousness. So go visit them. You'll see them. It's right kind of close to CVS.
Yeah, exactly, right next to CVS, right after 605 in Katella. It's actually just the one street down.
Yeah. So definitely go visit them. You will not go away hungry. And I just wanted to introduce Kevin, and you can say a couple words. Or are you going to be shy?
You know, I'm pretty shy, but I could say something. Thank you, Mayor. Just wanted to say thank you for the opportunity to be showcased. You know, it was a pleasure getting to speak to you personally and kind of showcase like our business and like why we do what we do. And you know, it really is just like a family-owned like business. Me and my wife took it over about 2 years ago. You know, we worked really hard in trying to turn the business around. You know, we have 2 kids, so you know, I don't have much to say about it except for, you know, we really care about like what we've done with the store, and we just want to kind of show our kids that, you know, we're working hard for them. So, yeah.
Okay, so talk to us about your February monthly special and then lead over into what March is going to be. 'cause
Oh yeah, so we try to have fun with our menu. Every month we have a new seasonal, the new monthly flavors. So next month we're going to be doing stuff with like Lucky Charms. We're going to be having what do we got? One of them's a secret, but we have like something with like pot of gold, and you can kind of use your imagination. But they're flavors that we try to like have fun with, and try to be just a little bit different from what you can get like at some other places. We got over 25 flavors to choose from. So I have my team, they're really good at what they do, and I just tell them like, hey, just be creative with it. Yeah.
All right, I would definitely suggest that's coffees and lattes they have in addition to the bomb donuts. So it's the one-stop shop, and you don't have to get out of your car. So we just wanted to thank you and recognize you as one of our small businesses. And on behalf of the city and the Los Al PD, we thank you for being in business.
Glad we can stay in business.
Yeah, exactly. Let's come on over here and we'll take a picture, and then you guys can have a family picture over there as well. All right, our next presentation is by our,
Fresh donuts, pastries, and handcrafted coffee fuel your day. Every month, we feature a rotating drink menu to match the season. This February, try the banana pancakes, strawberry sunrise, or the Valentine latte, a delicious twist on a chocolate-covered strawberry. Whether you're grabbing a latte at the drive-thru or relaxing inside, Donut Boss has you covered. Follow them on Instagram at donutboss_LA for the latest specials.
and the Mayor Pro Tem just informed me that the Valentine latte is bomb. Her words. All right, now we're going back to our next presentation from our longtime friend, Executive Director Howard Kummerman, regarding the Cypress College Americana Awards.
Thank you so much, Mayor Hasselbrink. Thank you to the City Council and the residents of Los Alamitos. We are so happy to be here talking to you about our Americana Awards and Cypress College. You've been incredible partners as we've put on this event for 50 years. Can you hear me okay? There we go.
Yep.
For more than 50 years. And I will mention, next year in 2026, Cypress College will be celebrating our 60th anniversary for the college in our community as well. So thank you for having us to talk about this great event and your honoree this year, who I will introduce in a moment. I do want to mention I have two members of our board of directors for the Cypress College Foundation with me. I have Beth Pyburn and Dr. Barbara Dunsheath, right there. Dr. Barbara Dunsheath is also a trustee with the North Orange County Community College District as well. So we have, even though we've been putting on this event for 50 years, we've had 54 honorees from the City of Los Alamitos a number of years. We've had husband and wife partners that have joined us. This event raises more than $500,000 for programs at Cypress College. We help with scholarships, emergency assistance, and other really important programs. So it's not just an event that honors our citizens in our 8 cities, but it's a very important part of what we do to raise money to help our students at Cypress College. And coincidentally, you can see up there too, we gave more than $500,000 in scholarships last year, not directly from Americana, but overall. So last year, you see, we recognized Shelley Appling and look forward to recognizing Randy Hill this year, along with our Person of the Year, AC Green, former NBA superstar from the Lakers, who will be there joining us. So let me tell you a bit about Randy. He's a devoted family man, a real estate associate, and a community leader who has been deeply involved in the Los Alamitos through youth sports, coaching, nonprofit leadership, and civic engagement. A former operations manager and substitute teacher, Randy's passion for the community stems from his upbringing and values, inspiring us to work with organizations like the Los Alamitos Education Foundation and the Rotary Club. Whether maintaining baseball fields, preserving local history, or supporting education, Randy is dedicated to making Los Alamitos a welcoming and thriving place for all. And here's a quick video of Randy. Before you had time to put up the sound, Randy was inviting you to come to Americana, so you can't say no. And before we finish up this presentation, I would like to invite Randy Hill, your Cypress College Foundation Americana Awards honoree for Los Alamitos, come up and say a couple words. Randy?
Thank you, Howard, and thank you to the City Council and staff. I know that you all are here serving our community well, and I appreciate that very much. It is a big honor to be here. I'm fortunate enough to have known quite a few awardees of this Americana Award winners. There you go. And I'm honored to be a part of that group, so thank you very much.
And who do you have with you here tonight?
I have my wife with me here tonight, Diana Hill.
Good call, good call.
Thank you, Howard.
Nice save.
Innocent bystander.
Helping you with your marriage.
One day at a time.
Save, yeah.
Thank you, Randy. Well, the Americana Awards are going to be on March 15th, Saturday. It's going to be an incredible night as we honor our 8 Citizens of the Year and our Person of the Year. As many of you know who have come to join us for this event before, we have a fabulous opportunity drawing, silent and live auction item. We're going to join 660 of our closest friends to honor all of these people for our 50th anniversary. It's going to be really a fabulous night, and I hope that you will all join us. I know I've already seen a lot of your registrations come through, so I know City of Los Alamitos is going to be very well represented for the Americana Awards. And I wonder if we might be able to take a quick picture with Randy. Is that okay? Sure. Yeah? Okay. Come on up. Yeah, wherever you want to take it. That's right.
Hey, baby girl. I'm baby girl.
Thank you so much, everybody. We appreciate your help and support.
Okay, and we're doing the traffic improvements? Okay, so we will be having a presentation by Development Services Director Noda on the recent traffic improvements.
If you don't mind, I think I'm going to stand here to do this presentation. All right, good evening, Mayor and member of City Council. Yes, we're going to go over tonight and during this presentation some of the recent traffic improvements we have made in the city of Los Alamitos. I have with me back there the city's traffic engineer Farhad Irantilab to assist me if needed. But again, we're going to go over 3 recent improvements that we've done or will be doing. Street striping is important for the city and for just roadways in general. Striping and pavement markings help maintain residential aspects of a safe and efficient roadway by delineating roadway paths and specific travel lanes and helping with parking. And so some of the bullet points I have up there, road safety is traffic flow, visibility, pedestrian and bicyclist safety, and of course, emergency access to emergency vehicles. And of course, it also assists in traffic management, lane demarcation, traffic direction, and of course, creates orderly parking. Whenever we go and do a project of any sorts, and in particular this one here, street striping, we undergo a process. So the process usually involves a resident, a local organization, or a visitor may submit a complaint, request, and/or suggestion to the city. So there's several ways that they can do that. We've worked really hard, the team, LosAl here, throughout the past few years. We have the MyLosAl app. We also have emails, whether it's direct or we have it on a regular general one. It's called services@cityoflosalamitos.org. Or, of course, we can also go to the Traffic Commission, in particular, this case right here. So when we hear a resident's concern, and I'm going to take the one here, a Traffic Commission. We just did interviews tonight, but just to reiterate, we didn't do one for our Traffic Commission, but Traffic Commission is made up of appointed residents who are part of the review process and make recommendations to the City Council. There are 2 types that we kind of split in terms of concerns. Right, categories. One's called capital improvement projects or CIPs, and the other one's maintenance operation, also known as M&Os. So capital improvement projects are something that we alter the infrastructure of a street. So if we change a lane marking, we change a direction of flow, we change parking, we usually go to the Traffic Commission to make recommendation to the City Council. Maintenance and operations, we typically do not. That's like, we just had one recently where a car, I believe it was just hit a traffic pole. That's a maintenance and operation. We're not changing any of the infrastructure or anything, so we just react and fix that without going to a Traffic Commission or running it up through our process. Again, if we have to, we will do a process which we involve called an assessment. But again, there's 2 types: capital improvement, which again does an assessment, which we'll cover in a second, or maintenance operation, M&O. Everything we try to do, we do an assessment, and that's where Farhad and his team comes in, right, to do the assessment. There's many ways to do assessment. There's traffic counts, vehicle counts. We can sometimes go back in history. Sometimes we reach out to the police department here to gain their expertise. In our Traffic Commission, one of the police officers sits with us, the traffic sergeant sits with us, so it's a he currently, can explain his expertise in some of the assessment and stuff. But again, we go through the whole assessment, and Farhad and his team, our traffic engineer, leads that. And then if we do go and assess and say it's a capital improvement project, then we draw up plans, specs, and engineering specs. We also call that PS&Es. And then we go into the procurement levels, which is either a quote or a RFP. Again, as the council is aware, we just passed some procurement level changes. So again, depending on what our engineering estimate is, we go either into a quote, which we go what we call an informal, where we go out there and obtain 3 quotes from 3 vendors, or we go with the whole RFP package, which takes a few months to do. Any questions so far? We're good. All right, we're going to go into, so the first one that we're going to talk about is the Lexington Avenue Street Project. Again, this is a street project that is between Katella Avenue and Farquhar, right? It goes into the Joint Forces Training Base. If you take a right on Farquhar, then you see the Los Alamitos Youth Baseball Field to your left. Complaints were received regarding speeding, lack of parking, and corner visibility along Lexington Drive. The Traffic Commission reviewed this issue at its May 2021 meeting. The City Council then reviewed and issued the RFP in May of 2024, and the City Council ultimately awarded the project at its August 2024 meeting. So once it was approved, we went out there and we did the markings. So what we did here, again, is this is a CIP project, we call it, because of the fact that we're changing the infrastructure of this parking lot. So if you can see on the map here that before it was mostly parallel parking. We changed it into diagonal slant parking, as you can see. We added red curbs, right, to, again, have a clearer line of sight. And we added cross-hatching at the corners, again, to increase visibility. Again, this marking was from Katella to Farquhar, but we also partnered with the Joint Forces Training Base to see if they wanted to increase their traffic flow into the base as well. They jumped on that opportunity, and working with the Joint Forces Training Base Public Works Division, we did enter some markings to assist with the truck flow and the traffic going into the base. Okay, so this is what is a typical exhibit, right, that we have. All right, so what are the benefits? It slows vehicles down by narrowing the lane. It increased parking. We increased parking by 19 spots. We improved corner visibility. Again, what I mentioned was the cross-hatching and the red curb. And then again, we worked with the Joint Forces Base for additional striping to increase truck and vehicle entrance into their facility. Okay. Next one here is Los Alamitos Boulevard. Okay, as part of the Los Alamitos Active Transportation Plan that was approved in August of 2021, I believe, the striping plan improved bicycle and pedestrian safety and connectivity to the downtown Pine Street activity area and Los Alamitos High School. So just a reminder what the Active Transportation Plan, that was about a 15-month a process that we did where our vendor went out here, came to Los Alamitos and did workshops, did both in-person and online workshops. They sent out a survey. They did a walk audit. So they actually sent people to walk up and down the streets of Los Alamitos. They were talking to crossing guards. They were talking to people walking their kids to school. They would stop bicyclists. They would literally talk to people sitting at the bus stop. They also did one-on-ones with, I believe, council at the time, and then with stakeholders in the community as well, whether it was individual or groups. They met with bike clubs, they met with walking clubs, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So that whole process, all that data that they gathered spit out about 18 projects for the city to improve the active transportation or bicyclist, pedestrian, transit, and vehicle safety in the city. So the striping of Los Alamitos Boulevard was one of those 18 plans that was pushed out. Okay, the Traffic Commission reviewed the plan after we did all the assessments and the PS&Es and everything in November of that's a typo. It's 2024, not 2025. We haven't gotten there yet. Okay, and requested revisions. So the item was brought back to the commission in January of 24. So that should have been November of 23. Came back in January of 24. Is that right? No, it's November of 24. Came back in January of this month. And then, I'm sorry, I'm getting all mixed up. I apologize. So it should be 23. Came back in January 24. The RFP was launched in March of 24, and the City Council approved the project at its June 24 meeting, and then that striping was done. Again, I'm not going to go over because the concept, the scope of this project was from the freeway, the bridge that's past the Los Alamitos High School, all the way to Katella on Los Alamitos Boulevard. This is just a snippet, again, of the exhibit. One of the big things that we did on Los Alamitos Boulevard was to put bicycle lanes on there that was delineated or demarked by green bike markings right there. So again, to make it safer, right? One of our traffic commissioners who works for the city of Huntington Beach has expressed that in Huntington Beach, they had a lot of vehicle traffic around their high school as well. They put bike lanes on there, and with the influx of bikes and especially e-bikes, the vehicle traffic has decreased because more people are now biking to school. So this was one of the concepts here of the active transportation plan, to make it safer for kids to bike to school, right? So again, if you go out there right now, there are green bike lanes on Los Alamitos Boulevard. This is another marking here. Again, it goes, again, from the scope of Katella all the way down to the high school. Okay? Right. So what are the benefits? It slows vehicle speed, right? Oh my God, this is what happened here. All right, that's what happens when you do it real fast. I'm sorry. So this slide is a repeat, but again, it does slow vehicle speed, right? Increase safety for both pedestrians and bicyclists. And again, vehicles. We've had some incidents where I remember at our Celebrate Los Al on the intersection of Florista and Los Alamitos Boulevard some years back, a pedestrian was hit. And so now if you go out there, the marking is a crosshatch marking instead of just a regular marking. So those are improved markings. And again, our goal here is to try to increase safety for pedestrians and bicyclists. So if you go back and look at our active transportation plan, our very first active transportation plan, Mark, was on Cerritos, where we installed bike lanes on Cerritos, okay? The second one that we did is what I just described here on Los Alamitos Boulevard. The third one that is coming, we're in design right now, is actually the grant that we received from Michelle Steele to do an active transportation plan on Bloomfield Avenue. As you can tell, the first 3 projects that we targeted was surrounding schools or parks, because we feel that the safety of the kids is of utmost importance, okay? This one will be coming to tonight for council. It's Katella Avenue. This one here is on maintenance and operation. The first 2 that I described is because we changed the whole scope of the infrastructure, like I said. We went to the Traffic Commission to get their recommendation, and they ultimately came to council for approval. This one here, because it's a maintenance operation, we did not go to Traffic Commission, but basically striping from 605 Freeway to Walker Street. This is an RFP that, if approved tonight, will go out to bid or notice, and then we'll come back in about 2 months to award that bid, and then hopefully within 45 days we get that project started. But basically, the markings from the 605 Freeway to Walker Street, which is the border of Cypress and Los Alamitos Boulevard, it is in bad shape. There are actually segments of Katella where the marking is completely gone. And so again, we're not changing anything. We're just going out there restriping it, restriping the crosswalk, restriping the street. Again, it's a maintenance and operation. Again, that's the reason why we didn't go to Traffic Commission for that, but we're coming straight to council to issue out that RFP. Okay? Whew. I'm here for questions. Our traffic engineer is here for questions. Thank you.
Excuse me, I have one question. On the Los Alamitos Boulevard, I know we've had some issues with the bike lane over by the high school. I know we've recognized that there are issues safety-wise. Can you tell us kind of what the next steps are as far as that's concerned to address those issues?
So right now, we had a meeting because of all the concerns that residents and visitors of Los Alamitos about that bike lane. What happened was during the process, what typically happened here is you got the 2 lanes that go straight, and then that 3rd lane was a pseudo right turn lane, all right? And so then they wanted safety, because a lot of times if you go out there in the morning and when schools are coming out, they thought that young teenage driver going to school would maybe collide with a bicyclist or a pedestrian. So that's why the installation of bollards were there. But again, what's causing the issue or the concern is the elimination of that right turn lane. So we are in assessment right now. One of the things we're definitely going to do, again, from the suggestions from PD, is to look at the synchronization of the lights. So there's a light at Cerritos, and the very next street, I believe, is Brigham. So we're going to see if we can sync those 2 lights to create a better traffic flow. And secondly, we're trying to look at assessment if we can kind of maybe revise or alter a little bit of the infrastructure there. So of course, it's going to take a few weeks, but I believe this week we're doing a vehicle count, right, to see how many cars are actually taking a right, how many cars are taking a left, how many cars are going straight. So then once we get the vehicle count, then we can see if we can make any infrastructure changes to assist with that right turn and the right turns going straight.
Okay, and I believe the traffic study is going to be next week, because this week is fall break, so the kids aren't in school. So I think we're doing it next week.
That's a good point. Thank you, Mayor.
Yeah.
That's a good point. Yeah, we were scheduled to do it last week, but then it rained.
Right.
So yes,
now, because
that's a very good point.
We want the true counts.
Yes.
And then there was an issue, I believe, and correct me if I'm wrong, that the bollards were placed so so far apart that cars could actually get in?
No, they go in where Oil Local is.
Okay. So the cars are actually going in?
Correct. They are going through a Pollo lot, but they also could squeeze in there. And I believe Public Works made an adjustment and tried to move the first bollard over to reduce the span of that a car could fit through to address that concern.
Okay, perfect.
And if cars continue to go, we're not going to put a bollard, because one idea was put a bollard in the middle, but now I'm afraid if an e-bike is going down, they're going to crash into this bollard. So there's a different type of marking. It's thinner, right? I think our traffic engineer knows the exact name of it, but there's something that we might be able to put there that's thinner, that's high visibility. It's usually painted, if you see it on the street, painted like orange. That might be, and then if you hit it, it kind of goes back like that. And so we're looking at that as well.
Okay.
I'm sure you know it. It's not just a volume count, right? Because specifically at that El Pollo Loco, if one person wants to turn right and you have all the kids crossing the street, it blocks the whole lane.
Correct.
So,
Correct.
yeah.
But there would be no difference if the bollards weren't there because the car in the right-hand lane. It only affects the number 2 lane that would still be able to go north. If cars were wanting to make an eastbound turn, they would have to wait no matter what.
But what I'm saying is, I'm sure there's a way to do a bike lane where you can still have 100 yards where you can get in and make a right-hand turn. And the cyclist, the
So we are looking into that, council member.
I've seen all kinds of bike lanes. I've never seen one like this. I got to be honest.
Yeah,
with you.
so people have expressed, why didn't we mark it like the other going down Los Al Boulevard? And the reason why is because during that morning drop-off or the afternoon pickup or rush or what, with people going home.
They working with the mics.
Oh, okay, is that coming from me? The car volume is there. So the way it's designed now, that once, because the car count going into Brigham and Drive is far less than the car count going right onto Cerritos, okay? So that's why that marking is different. So once you hit going from Brigham in, going down to Cerritos, that bicyclist is protected all the way. If we do it, the striping, just like we did over at Brigham in, there's gonna be a point where the vehicle and the bicyclist will interact and cross, and that will be, because of the volume of cars, that will be a very, very dangerous point right there. Second, because of the impact of how many cars go to the high school in the morning, per se, sometimes a car gets backed up all the way down past Brigham in onto the next street, which I believe is, what's the next street? Whatever the next street is, Sausalito, I believe. Serpentine, right? And so again, when you cross Serpentine, if there's cars parked there, which they're allowed to park, you're gonna have that backup because now that right turn only lane will be in that one lane that's gonna go straight. So we're looking at, that's why we're doing a vehicle count to see if the vehicle, I think it's great, but if I'm wrong, then we will make that change to accommodate that, right?
You said that the traffic engineer was here today. Could I
Yes.
ask him a couple questions,
Yes.
if I may?
Yep.
Thank you, Ron.
Hi, sir.
Good
Thank
evening,
you.
Mayor and member of the council. My name is Farhad Irani Talab, and I've been the traffic engineer for the last 7 years in your city. If you don't mind, I want to give you some background of why we are doing these things. I think this is very important to know. Is the federal government, because of the gas reduction, has requested, has required the cities, in case if they want to have funding, they have to create a multimodal transportation system within their streets, which includes bike lanes, pedestrian, transit, emergency vehicle, motorcycle, and everything else. The law changes, the congestion is not an impact anymore in the state and federal. Now is the vehicle miles traveled. Therefore, they want to reduce the number of cars on the road, and they're requiring the cities to include the bike lanes. And it makes it difficult because of the geometry. If you look at the Florista, down south to Katella, there is no bike lane because our ATP shows from Florista to the city limit to the north. And the most problem area is Cerritos. Even before having the bike lane, we had issues. we don't have enough geometry to create a one right lane alone and two left turn. That's why we are doing the counts, to see which one is priority for the city. And then the transition, because you have to transition the lanes from maybe Brigham or even further to go to the west, to be able to go through the intersection at Cerritos, and by that you have to lose one of the left turn. So that's why we have to look at it to see what is the balance. I know it's a very difficult. I'm an old-fashioned traffic engineer, thinking of you have to make the cars go faster and smoother, but there's no more. So it's the gas reduction that is really the VMT is requiring these things to be done. So we are doing some study to see the timing can be changed, or a big capital improvement to move all the lanes to be able to create that right lane, just like Florista to have a right lane by itself and the bike lane to the left of it. We don't have that in Florista, so that's the difference.
Am I understanding you correctly that the problem that we're having at this particular intersection isn't a result of logic and reason, but just because of a state mandate?
No, it's the safety too. Because when people are making that right turn, the bicyclists really have to be worried about being rear-ended from someone who's going to that right lane. You don't have that much room between number of driveways on the east side of Los Alamitos. You have so many driveways. You have the restaurant, you have the El Pollo Loco. So it's very difficult to have that conflict reduced, except by just removing that conflict completely and make it to one point, which is at the intersection with lower speed. Because before they were looking to the left and just making the right lane. And then you could have hit the pedestrian that they're crossing. So we are looking to see how we can do it better. But one of the the biggest element in design is the driver. And we don't know how the driver are behaving. So therefore, when we do something like that, we have to tweak it and find out what it is. But I tell you, it's not going to be the same as what it was before, no matter what we do. You're going to have some more congestion. And I thought that lower speed is better for the downtown area, so people who are crossing, instead of just going through, they can see the shops and everything else they can see. So there are a combination of efforts to be done and balanced.
Can you help me understand, so there were traffic studies done prior to the restriping and the adding of the bike lanes. What's the difference in what you'll be looking at going forward? Clearly, the intersection isn't working. I think we all agree on that. What's the difference in what you've already looked at and what you plan on looking at?
Well, we are planning to see if we can increase the green time for the northbound during the peak school hours. So people, because right now the right turn and through are going through the same timing. So if we can improve based on what the condition or the number of traffic is, we can improve it a little bit. Again, I told you, you cannot relieve the situation, but we can make it better. And hopefully that will disperse the traffic all over. Because most of the complaint I know is not just the residents, it's the people who go through.
Mm-hmm.
And generally we look to see what we can do in the school hours. Because that's the time that is a problem. Other than that, I've sat there many times and haven't seen. And with the new signage that we have put in, I've sat there, I don't see that many people going to that right lane. And it's clearly a legal movement because it's clearly marked as bike lane with the sign, no cars.
No.
So I think if the police department give them some tickets next time, they don't do it.
Okay, I have a few things.
Okay.
First off, I think we'd all agree here that we'd rather have a right-hand turn lane rather than two left-hand turn lanes. So I think that's one thing. I think also, no matter what, the bikes and the right-hand turn people are going to intersect. No matter what they're going to. They can do it before they get to Cerritos, or they can get it after they get to Cerritos. And the bikers I've talked to say that it's not safe the way it is right now, because now when you're going straight through the intersection, you gotta worry about someone turning right. And my last thought is that I think from an engineering standpoint, we start with the right-hand turn lane and you engineer from there. So we want the right-hand turn lane back, and we want to.
Well, I disagree with that, council member, because the purpose of this active transportation, first and foremost, is safety, not a right turn.
I agree. It's less safe the way it is right now. It's less safe to be able to be going through an intersection and have someone turning right as you're going through the intersection, rather than how all other bike lanes, I haven't found one in Orange County that is designed like that, as Commissioner Nufolta said. And as I go up to Laura High School, the bikes and the traffic cross before the intersection, not after the intersection.
Yeah, I disagree as
The turning speed for the right turn before was a lot faster than now because they are a 90 degrees angle. Before, they were just going, and you had the same conflict with the pedestrian.
Yeah.
Your right turn had the same conflict.
There's no way you're going to tell me that not having a right-hand turn lane gets more people to turn right. No way.
So again,
We could have two
we're
right-hand turn
gonna
lanes.
we're doing an assessment,
Okay.
right? And we're gonna take a look at that. And I'm the first to admit that if we're not right, we will fix it. All right,
No,
but
it doesn't
it
matter
all
right or
falls
wrong.
it all falls under the vehicle count and the assessment of what we have, with the purpose in mind that we have to protect the safety of pedestrians and
Right now,
bicyclists.
it's not safe. It needs to be safer.
So if I may,
Raising my hand. And I don't know why I'm doing that, because I sit up here, I have a mic, so I'm just waiting my turn. It's my turn. My turn. Two thoughts, and because, as has been mentioned, this is a turn like we've never seen anywhere, maybe our approach should be something that we haven't seen. What if we have signage or a light that clearly says, bikes, you can go straight or turn or whatever it is that you're doing, bikes only. Cars, you can go right, bikes, you stop. What that looks like, I don't know, because I'm a macro person, I'm not a micro person. But there has to be something that works for this thing that we have, and I really haven't heard anything else that will address it. So maybe, break down the walls of the box that they got you in, and maybe it's like a light. Because I am one, I'll tell on myself, because I know I ain't the only one, but I jumped into that right lane, which is a bike lane, and I did it in front of El Pollo Loco because it confused me. And there's no the turn or the arrow until right at the light. So if anything, we just need like some road markings or some sort of signage that says, hey, you're gonna, this is your lane, car. You can't get into that far right lane. That's for bikes only. Because now I'm thinking about visitors. Like, we can all know what we're supposed to do with these green stripes, but if you're just visiting and you see it's open and you want to make a right-hand turn and you don't get an update on that until you get to the light.
So, Councilmember, we are having internal discussion. We are trying to think out of the box. Like our traffic engineer said, we're trying to come up with a solution, and we're probably going to come back to council with some recommendations. With it's because one solution that we have is going to be very costly, right? It's an installation of a overhead signage system with a decreasing of the islands in the middle, right? To, like the traffic engineer said, we need more space, okay? That's very costly, so that'd be like one option. Second option would be this option. Third option will be this option, right? So we'll come back to council after our assessment, and then we're working with the Farhad and his team to come up with some recommendations, some options that council can decide on what step to move forward.
And then are we looking at, because I hear the mandate, it's like my least favorite word, but have we been in I understand VMT, I sit in meetings, I hear about the VMT, da-da-da-da-da. But is there any consideration given to our city, such as it is, with these different mandates that we are having to abide by? Like, is there anybody that we could talk to at a different level where we can say, hey, we don't have the space for exactly that in our city. Look at our plan and what we have, and can we do something like this that actually fits our city, as opposed to this grand California thing that has to be done?
I just want to make sure I'm understanding. Putting a bike lane on Los Al Boulevard is not a mandate from the state, right?
Well, he was mentioning the
having an active transportation
yes.
plan is a mandate from the state. Like I stated, they did a 12 to 15 month outreach to the community back in 2020, 2021, and out of that whole outreach spit out 18 projects. This is one of the 18 projects that they spit out. All right, so again, the active transportation plan, which is decreasing vehicle mileage, or what we call VMT, is a mandate because they're trying to, I don't want to get into it, but decrease greenhouse gases and on and on and on, right? But again, we can take a look at this, and we are, right? Thank you to the mayor. We will make that vehicle count next week, not this week, right? And then we'll take a look at that, and we're gonna really think out of the box, all right? One of the things which I want to mention here is, making a right turn a 90 degrees slows down traffic. That's what the 605 project is doing, where they're gonna come in. They're coming soon to do the 605 freeway. Right now, when you get on or off the freeway, it's a gradual curve. We all driven it, right? They're literally gonna make that almost a 90-degree angle where you have to turn into it. Why? To decrease traffic. Decrease speed, So when you decrease speed, what's gonna happen is you're gonna create congestion. Okay?
One of the things I feel is important is, and I think you hear it from all of my colleagues, is as obviously we're in districts and we represent different parts of the city. This is something that is, the entire city is disliking this. So I think it's important to, whatever options you might, come up with, is to bring it back to council and get our approval, because we're the ones who are directly communicating with residents when they have an issue trying to get to the high school. We hear it. When they have an issue trying to use the bike lane, we hear it. So I think it's important, as those representing, our community, to bring, your best options here, whatever you have, yeah.
No, that is the game plan. Thank you, council member, for stating that. That is the game plan. Again, the engineering team, the city engineer, the traffic engineer, myself, got a slew of other people that helps us. We try our very best, but I'm going to tell everyone, including the resident, we're not perfect sometimes. And so, you saw that at Good Evening Los Alamitos. We want to have that dialogue with our residents. And so if you don't like something, please let us know. And this is something that we have received emails. I personally have called people back, received emails. And so again, we're responding. Again, we have to do an assessment phase. That's part of our process. Again, we're going to look at the vehicle counts. And again, if at the end of the day we made a mistake, we will fix it.
Let me ask you, the issue is not the bike lane itself, it's just only on Cerritos and Los Alamitos? Or is it the bike lane completely on the Los Alamitos? That's two different questions.
Sure, it is. One of the options that I would suggest for you to include is, if you were to remove, maybe put in there, removing the bike lane from Cerritos South to Brigham Inn. What would that, what would that look like? Would we still be in compliance with these mandates if we removed that section of the bike lane that culminates at that intersection?
Well, that's the most important portion of the whole street because it's going to school.
Correct.
And I've heard from principal that there are a lot of more people, or the students, are using their bikes to get to school. So those are the segments that we have to take care of. The rest of them, I don't know what's going to happen, but as part of the downtown improvement, you're going to have Pine Street, Florista, and connectivity to other portions. So you can connect yourself with bicycles or walking to other places. So that's the goal.
Have you ever worked with, some areas they go over the street, or some areas they go under the street? Have you ever worked on projects like that?
Not on this. It's too expensive to be feasible for what they want. Most jurisdiction, they do restrict right lane if they have to. I have an example. I'll give it to Ron, and maybe later on you can. Those are just something that it shows what they change. It's not that it's uncommon. This is a common practice on all cities, that when you have to put that.
I don't mean to interrupt, but
No.
It is common. And like I said, I've never seen it like this. Usually you can kind of ease into the right lane. You maybe have 50 yards or something. The bike lane stays to the left of the right turn lane. So you have the right turn lane, you have the little bike lane, and then you have your straight lane and your.
But those intersections don't have a volume of 300 kids on e-bikes at the same time. It could not handle that level of volume.
And also the number of driveways, as I mentioned, you have
lost it.
at least 4 driveways on that segment.
Mayor, if I can, and I think I can see the city attorney looking at me sideways simply because this is not an agendized item and we're not actually taking comment for direction at this point. But what I can commit to, because I think that this, obviously, having listened to the comments, it's incumbent upon us that you've seen something that you don't believe is working in the city. We need to either come back and show you data about why it's working or why it's not working, and then provide you with options. And I think that doing the traffic counts is the first step to that, to make sure that we're not putting ourselves in any way into liability in terms of the type of improvements that we're putting down on the street. But one thing that I think Councilmember Lowe and Mayor Pro Tem Doby actually hit on is the box itself. And I can probably guarantee that when this intersection was looked at back in 2020, that a couple things were not taken into account. The prevalence of e-bikes and how much that has grown in the last couple of years. That obviously is one. Traffic counts and things that have happened around this site in terms of development that has gone on in Cypress, the new improvements that are gonna happen to the freeways and where exactly people are coming in and out of the city. Those are all things that we need to take into account. So if we take the box, so to speak, and expand it from building a right turn lane and a bike lane to looking at the entire street and what exactly the options might be, we might find that, you know what, that second left turn lane doesn't need to be there. We might look at it and say, you know what, if we pull the striping back a little bit before it gets to the intersection, does it still accomplish the goal of the active transportation plan? So I think what we need to do as staff is bring you back not only options, but data that supports those options for you guys to consider for us, and then to give us ultimate direction. Because when we first put this plan together, obviously the goal was to get it down on paper and make it shovel ready, which is why we're able to get the grant money that was made available to do the project. We need to make sure that we take into account certain situations, especially ones that are near high schools like this. So if it pleases the council and mayor, I like the idea of we can agendize this item and bring it back to you with a whole number of different options as to what exactly is happening there. And then I will say one thing, and it's just because it's anytime we make a change to street striping, lines anywhere, everyone loses their mind, because it's the thing that I've seen for 15 years. Now it doesn't look like it did when I was driving here before, and now I've got something new to learn. One thing that we did learn, though, from doing these types of striping jobs is, and if you look into Old Town, we had cars racing up and down the streets. We don't have that anymore. We've actually, by using a can of paint and some reflectors and some signs, we basically have slowed down traffic in a neighborhood. That is part of the goal with these things, is to make it as safe as possible. And so I do believe that the intent is good. Does it need some tweaks? I think so too. But let us bring those options back to you with data behind it, as opposed to, we just don't like it. We want to bring back some options and some solutions for you guys to consider.
So last thing I'd like you to consider is, if this was 2020, that was when the world was opening back up. So I don't think it was an accurate reflection of what we have right now.
Yeah, and I agree with that 100%. And I think you're going to find with, this will be the planning nerd in me coming out, but any plan, once you get beyond 6-7 years, I think you need to do a reassessment to really kind of decide whether or not the assumptions that you made, did they come to fruition? Has something else happened or something else been built that changes the way or the overall direction that we need to use in terms of how we're approaching the project? But at the end of the day, adjustments to an active transportation plan, not the end of the world. It's supposed to be a living document. That's why we do it. So I think that will provide you the opportunity to really dig down into this one. And, obviously, this is one that, it's gone through a lot of public input, but maybe it's time for some new input.
Yeah. And just a couple things. Councilmember Hibbard, you talked about underground access or over underground access, because our water table is so high. I think we hit water at 7 inches. The amount of infrastructure you'd have to go into solidify that up would be cost prohibitive. We have looked at a bridge over for a number of years. It's probably half of our budget to get that done. So unless somebody has a really thick checkbook, that's probably also cost prohibitive. What I would ask of staff is, come back with a plan. I wouldn't spend a lot of time on what is working now, because it doesn't sound like it is. But more of what can we do, and let us see all the options regardless of cost. Don't be afraid of the answer, just give us all the options, because then at least we'll have some buy-in, and we can also explain to people why we did this. We caught a little off guard on this one, so when people were asking me why we did this, they're like, we don't know. So we always like to be informed, even if it's not an answer that's going to be widely accepted. At least we'll have some background on it.
Definitely.
Okay.
Yeah, and I'd just like to say thank you to all the residents and the constituents who, contacted all of us. They're the first line of, of defense to seeing what's going on in the community. So for everyone who reached out to all of us, I think our inboxes are full, or Nextdoor or Facebook, it's, peppered with indications that we missed it on this one. So, not a problem to admit that we missed that. We're going to go back to the drawing board and make it better.
Thank you, Ron.
Thank you.
Appreciate your efforts, sir.
All right, now we're going to oral communications. We'll do closed session after that. Correct? Okay. Let's see, oral communications at this time, any individual in the audience may come forward to speak on any item within the subject matter jurisdiction of the city council. Remarks are to be limited to not more than 5 minutes per speaker. This is the appropriate time to come forward to speak on any agenda item. As no public hearings are on tonight's agenda, comments will not be called for each item. If you would like to speak, please fill out a speaker card or sign the podium, or sign-in sheet at the podium, and this allows staff to contact you for any follow-up if needed. So the first one is Dan Gallagher.
Hello, Madam Mayor, Madam Mayor Hasselbrink, Madam Mayor Pro Tem Doby, City Council, staff. My name is Dan Gallagher, 10681 Oak Street, number 87, Los Alamitos. Most of you know me, but I would like to reintroduce myself as the new president of the Los Alamitos Seniors Club. It was a hard-fought battle, but I beat myself by a slim margin. This year with my new board, our goal is to increase our membership and have some interesting speakers to maybe help increase our speakers. Our first speaker this year is a representative from the Fire Authority. Thank you, Chief. I don't know the date of that yet, but I can announce that at a certain time. I would like to invite any of you, if you have any projects or you have any things you'd like to get off your chest and mention it to the seniors, you're more than welcome. We do invite you. Some of you have taken me up on that offer before. We meet every Thursday at everything starts around 10 a.m. And that would be nice. I'm sorry I wasn't able to be there today for Mayor, your ribbon cutting. I would like to congratulate the city and all the park commissioners for the grand opening of Stearns Park. I think this is a great thing. This is everybody working together and getting it all together. Thank you very much.
Thank you. We heard you were working and the pretty Gallagher was there anyway, so we're good.
I gotta say, at 59 years.
Yeah.
Still going.
Such a saint. Joe Hasty.
Good evening, City Council and City staff. My name is Joe Hasty. I'm a resident of Carrier Row. My home is on Howard Ave. I came to speak tonight on a couple issues. The first two, you already kind of talked about one of them, the Los Alamitos intersection, so I won't talk about that. And I think there's some other speakers that are going to talk on the other one, the parking on Lexington, just the creation of a blind spot on a right turn from Howard, or left turn from Howard. There's a couple big trucks that are parking there. So anyway, I'll let somebody on. I'm sure somebody else is going to talk about that. The main item I wanted to address tonight, and my comments tonight are my opinion as a taxpaying resident, and then from my experience as a public servant in a management role at another public agency. The main item I would like to address tonight is your discussion item C, your annual retention goals and performance achievement bonus for executive management and middle management. Well, I think the city staff's doing a fine job attending to the business of the city. The idea of bonuses may sound like a good idea sometimes, but sometimes they do have unintended consequences. Bonuses awarded to some and not to others under the discretion of the superiors sometimes are considered problematic in cities, school districts, other municipalities for non-contracted employees. Opinions on public sector discretionary bonuses are split as to whether they're appropriate or ill-advised. Some even consider it a gift of public funds. Over the last few years, city staff has benefited. I think the council's done a great job in approving reclassification of jobs, increase in staff, pay increases of over 4 years, 18%, substantial increases in city contribution to the health benefits. And as well, all city employees, represented or not, also receive substantial benefit packages that includes holidays, vacation leaves, their 2.7 retirement and other employment protections. While all of these benefits are in line with other municipalities, they sometimes are not in line with the private sector. These added benefits were put in place in the public sector to retain and reward public servants that may not receive the same pay, advancement opportunities, bonuses, etc., over their careers that exist in some private industries. In respect to item C, I see two potential issues. One, all city employees already receive a retention performance bonus. After completing 5 years with satisfactory reviews, they receive a $5,000 bonus, and then $10,000 at each 5-year increment after that. And then since this item creates, this is my management hat going on, a little bit of inequality in your staffing, the current retention perform bonus program, it creates inequality in the current retention program. If the future council wanted to offer the same discretionary bonus to your represented staff, meaning your Teamsters, item C as written would probably never get implemented to your rank and file employees, because most likely the union's view on that would be one amount, everybody gets it. So I'm kind of surprised, well, maybe they're here or not, but I know in my district, the union would probably be talking out against something like this that's just for one level and performance-based and discretionary. So while item C sounds like a good idea and maybe well-deserved, I think in my opinion there should be just some more thought, some discussion by the council for some of the unintended consequences and the possible precedent that it sets. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, and next up is Kathy Sly. Kathy?
Well, I am one of the victims that lives in Greenbrook and has to deal with that intersection at Los Al and Cerritos on a regular basis. And it's, I see very few bicyclists, and I see very few e-bikes, even during school times. High school kids are not the e-bike riders. It's really more the middle school kids. However, my husband was an avid cyclist, and he would never have ridden his bike on Los Alamitos Boulevard in either direction at any time. Not then and not now. It's a dangerous street. I recently, though, went to La Palma and crossed over on Ball Road. And the thing that I noticed most on Ball Road, they have a bicycle lane, they have striping, they have a center divider, left turn pockets, signals, everything that we have, but it was calm. It wasn't stressful, it was calm. If you've not been on Ball Road between, I think it's Los Al Boulevard and all the way over into Valley View area, just drive it. It's very calm. The colors don't change on the striping. They aren't bright and vivid and poles everywhere and signs everywhere that are distracting and stressful to drivers. Now, what I also noticed is I was in Long Beach and I was near a school. And I noticed that all of a sudden, all the traffic stopped. And I appreciated that because the pedestrians could cross any direction. And that may be one of the answers for that corner, because you can't even, not only can you not make a right turn until the first person moves if he's going straight, you could sit there a while, because if he's not turning right, you're never making a right turn on red, or when the left turn pocket's going south. That's not happening anymore. But all the traffic stopped. Everybody had a red light. You see a lot in Los Angeles and bigger cities where it just stops. And then the pedestrians could walk. Then the kids can't be crossing when people are trying to move forward or make a right turn on red, because it stops them. Okay, that was one of my concerns. One of my biggest concerns is I feel like we're starting to chase grant money, and that we're not always looking at what our needs and wants are from the residents and the community and the taxpayers. We're just following the grant money. Like the city manager said earlier, to make it shovel-ready. Well, making this project shovel-ready is not paying off. And now it's gonna cost us money to fix it. Even though we can fix it, it's going to cost us. I'm not sure that Los Al Boulevard was the right place for a bike lane in the first place. Possibly sending them through maybe over to Bloomfield. Bloomfield is where there's a lot of kids riding bikes, and there's really no real there's that regular bike lane there. That's all that's there. In the idea of chasing grant money, I'm very concerned about putting in a pool. I'm concerned about the liability. I'm concerned about the parking. We don't have parking even for the city council meetings. Where are we gonna get parking for a pool? We have the high school. My kids took lessons at the high school through the city. We have the base. We have a swim school right there on Cerritos Avenue. Do we really want the ongoing maintenance, the obstruction to what our city is now, and the liability expenses, and a whole new staff managing that pool? I'm not sure that the residents are that concerned about that. That sounds more like it's a staff dream or something to that effect rather than a residential push. I'd like to see city council make sure that we have a lot of marketing going on in our city right now. We have a lot of signs, we have a lot of stuff going on. We just got a new newsletter, but this is all telling us what's already happened. The residents aren't getting a preview of what's coming. What's coming. If they don't come to a city council meeting, which many can't for many, many, many reasons, they don't know what's coming if they're not on a commission. We don't have people interested in being on commissions. Why? Why? That was never like that before, that I can remember 10, 15 years ago. But now we don't. I know lives change. However, you still have a lot of people. You have more people to draw from in this community than we ever had before. So I would like city council to be a little more proactive and getting information out there and looking at things ahead of time with the residents. Get to know your residents. Many of you don't even know them, and that's sad. Thank you.
Okay, that's all the blue cards that I have. Is there any, oh, go in there. You just leave that on the podium, that's fine.
I'll leave it here. Hi, my name is Beth Pyburn, and I actually live in Rossmore Seal Beach, but I have a couple concerns about Los Al, and you all know that I have Los Al in my true heart. Because I work here, I go to church here, my kids live here. I have a concern about striping on the boulevard, and it's not at the high school, although it is a mess up there. My concern is the striping that's right before Florista. When that first came in, it came in without warning. I was almost rear-ended. I've seen several almost accidents there. You're forced to go into a lane, and then if you're going to turn right on Florista to go to where I work or to go to Precious Life Center, you got to go into that traffic light and all the way back and back out again. It's just that striping on that section really doesn't work. And everything. And even when the buses are there, they have to abide by that as well. My other concern is one of the things that's later in the agenda, and that's kids on these bikes, on these e-bikes. I've complained about it in Rossmore when we've tried to fix it. I followed a couple, and they all tend to run in packs. I followed several of them going down Farquhar the other night. Farquhar is not the best lit street. These kids tend to wear black. Their bikes are black, and they're going down Farquhar in the middle of the road doing wheelies when there's traffic coming behind them, traffic coming in front of them. And a question to you, Chief, is the same I've asked at Rossmore's meetings is, where are the police watching this? They're all over the place. And I'm going to ask the same of my city council in Seal Beach next week when I'm there as well, because they ride in packs, 5, 10 at a time, through Rossmore Center, through parts of the city as well. But I'm concerned because somewhere along the line, somebody's going to get killed, okay? And like the one lady says, I've been in cities where the pedestrians have a light of their own. All 4 directions of the cars stop and the pedestrians move. Perfect thing to do at the boulevard. And the other thing is put a crossing guard back there. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, do I have any other public comment? Oh, come on up.
Well, this is getting a little repetitious. Good evening. My name is Betty Bender, and I live in the Woodcrest tract adjacent to Los Alamitos High School. I'm here with neighbors who also have concerns, as I, regarding the reconfiguration of traffic at the intersection of Los Alamitos Boulevard and Cerritos. It seems the traffic has now become backed up with impatient drivers using the newly bike lane or driving through El Pollo Loco parking lot to make a right turn onto Cerritos, which means the right turn lane and the bike lane are both being used to turn right. Surprising, this has not caused an accident. I've also noticed some of the posts have already been damaged. I've posted on Nextdoor with concerns, and I have had over 85 responses, all negative with the exception of a few. We are hoping at the next council meeting that the bike lanes will be open for discussion. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else? Come on up.
This is a last minute thing, and I thought Betty was going to cover it, so now I have to. The problem that we find in our neighborhood of Woodcrest is that Cerritos is going this way, the high school's here, and the next street you turn left on is called Del Norte. You turn left onto Del Norte, and there's a short street, San Joaquin, and then Del Norte is a cul-de-sac as well as El Dorado Way. The problem is, as students and other people come down Cerritos, there's a big sign there, or a small sign that says no U-turn. They turn, very dangerous. If you're trying to turn left coming out of Woodcrest on Del Norte, turn left, and it says keep clear. They don't keep clear. You can hardly get out. And when you do get out, get a chance to get out, you're almost taking your life in your hands, turning left there. And off hours, when school isn't happening, in the middle of the day or at night, 6 o'clock at night, you try to turn left coming out of Del Norte onto Cerritos, and you can't see because of all the cars parked on Cerritos. The red, I don't know what you call it, curb marking that goes down, only goes down so far. And during the day, and even sometimes at night, you cannot see traffic coming. And I know from personal experience that we hit a motorcyclist trying to turn left there as he was coming down Cerritos. It was dark, we couldn't see, and that was like at 7 o'clock at night. But during the rest of the day, middle of the day, morning, whenever, you cannot see the traffic coming, and it's almost impossible to not take your life trying to turn left onto Cerritos. And I just wanted you to be aware of that. Maybe sometime when you're rooting around, you can go down Del Norte and make a U-turn and try to turn left onto Cerritos and see how you feel. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Anybody else? All right. Just real quick, Chet, could we just, I'm not a traffic engineer and I don't pretend to be one, but one of the options I'm looking at here on Cerritos, instead of allowing the kids to cross in the crosswalk right there, because that seems to be the problem, is there any way we could look at them turning right onto Cerritos and then using the signal at Griffin's Way that's already a striped crosswalk, and not nearly as many cars are going to be coming there, and it's already set up for pedestrians?
Of course.
Okay. Okay. And with that, we are going to be moving into closed session, and City Attorney, can you read the item now, please?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. The City Council will now recess into closed session for conference with legal counsel as listed as item 7A on tonight's agenda.
When did you say? We will be back. Report out.
Thank you, Mayor. The council has returned from closed session with no reportable action taken.
Awesome, thank you. Okay, updates from the mayor. We are very excited, LosAl Loop. It was mailed to every single resident in LosAl. It is a collection of press releases of things going on in the city. It's a growing working document, but we are very excited to get this out for the first time. Right now, it'll be monthly, but room to grow. And it'll just keep everybody informed. So the best that we can without having to rely on outside newspapers or Facebook to get information to the residents. So we're pretty excited about that. We also have the UWS Race on the Base. Register for the Race on the Base. The event features a reverse sprint triathlon, which Ms. Dobie will be doing, a 5K run and walk at the Los Alamitos Joint Force Training Base on March 1st. The reverse triathlon consists of a 5K run, a 13-mile bike, and a 200-meter swim. Who's doing it?
You.
All right, don't get me in a swimsuit. And then Financial Partners Weekend of Art, calling all artists, the Los Alamitos Recreation Community Services Department, and the Parks, Recs, and Cultural Arts Commission are excited to announce the return of the Financial Partners Weekend of Art in Los Alamitos. Mark your calendar and don't miss this creative and exciting event on March 14th and 15th. Art applications are being accepted at cityoflosalamitos.org. And the event will include an art expedition for all ages, children's art activities, arts and crafts booths, live performances, and its award ceremonies. And I got to tell you, we are stocked full of artists from all ages in here, so it's a neat thing. Couple of things that I did. I attended my League of California City Community Services Committee up in Sacramento a couple weeks ago. We talked about childcare, library services, and homeless services. Those are our three main initiatives for this year. I attended the Good Evening LosAl, which was actually a lot of fun. People walked out of there with smiles and seemed to be informed. The food was by Brew Kitchen, which is always real good. Senior Advisory Committee will have before us later on tonight the Senior Service Master Plan that was just outstanding and really opened our eyes to a lot of things that we didn't know about our seniors. Went to the LAIF fundraiser at the Seal Beach Tennis Center. I did not walk onto a pickleball court because they're dangerous, but had a great meal and it was really a lot of fun. Flash Pants was there. If you've never seen Flash Pants, they are a throwback band to the 80s, I guess. They walk out in their red Adidas shorts and tank tops, and they just entertain. Went to the Labradette Park groundbreaking 2 weeks ago, so that's the next park that's underway. Attended the Budget Standing Committee, where we just solidified the budget calendar and some different things. I did attend the Citizens Academy. Last week was the first week. It's a 6-week program in learning everything about the police department. I'm so disappointed because tonight they are meeting and the coroner is speaking, and thank you for letting me come to City Council. Appreciate that. We had our commissioners' dinner last week, which was awesome, in our brand-new community center. What a great place to have an event. We had a number of our commissioners there, and once again, the food was great. And then I also attended last week League of California City Veterans Roundtable. What they're looking for is to add a Veterans Caucus to the League of California Cities that would address cities that have either a lot of veterans, a base, or both. That'd be us. They need 50 cities to sign on in order for the league to make it a caucus. And I unilaterally signed us on because I think it goes with everything we're doing right now for veterans and seniors and everything else. And then the one thing I wanted to bring Chet for our next meeting on the Personal Appeals Commission. What I would like to do is, we've got a number of people that have volunteered for being on commissions, and to say that we have 5 commissioners that have never met, I think it's a waste of volunteers. These are people that want to get involved and they want to go to meetings, otherwise they wouldn't have interviewed for it. So I would like to, we can discuss at our next meeting, changing that from personnel appeals to just a personnel commission. And where am I? I had some really good notes. Where are my really good notes? Oh, so some of the things I had, and it's not necessarily dealing with actual personnel, but being more of an arm or a standing bar to our HR department. I know we're going to go through some changes in there, and also, so we could ensure that city employees receive ongoing professional development and training opportunities, review and recommend training programs focused on leadership and compliance, monitor employee satisfaction and workplace culture through anonymous surveys, recommend strategies to improve morale, retention, and job satisfaction, develop and refine standardized performance evaluation metrics, and just overall communication, personnel policies and stuff. I just think it's an outside arm. A number of them that we interviewed tonight had vast experience from an array of different industries, and I think those ideas coming as an advisory committee like all of our other commissions, I think would be useful to staff. And if not, please tell us so, but if we could throw that up for next month to discuss, that would be great.
No problem.
Okay, and that's all I have, so I will go ahead and turn it over to City Manager.
I just have one item, and it's actually about the LosAl Loop. I had no idea how much work would go into actually starting your own newspaper. The city clerk and management analyst Matt dutifully pointed it out to me how much work it was, but they still were able to get it done in record time. So I just want to say hats off to the comms team for being able to get it in print and to get it to everybody's doorstep with relative speed. So thank you.
Yep, my 70-year-old widowed neighbor got it and read it in front of me, and it was like we'd given her a Christmas present. She doesn't get out a whole lot, but she feels like she's kept up to date because apparently I don't keep her up to date enough. So thank you very much. That was awesome. Okay, warrants. Per the council's accelerated warrant policy, questions will be noted by staff and followed up after the meeting. There were questions submitted and answered. So at that point, just need a motion and a second.
I'll move.
I'll second.
And it's a roll call vote, please.
Mayor Hasselbrink?
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Doby?
Aye.
Councilmember Hibbard?
Aye.
Councilmember Lowe?
Aye.
Councilmember Nafolda?
Okay, consent calendar. All consent calendar items may be acted upon by one, excuse me, by one motion unless a council member requests separate action on a specific item. Anybody want to pull anything?
Yep. I'd like to pull G and I, please.
Okay. And I. Okay, anybody else? Can I get a motion to move the balance?
Move them.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, we're going to G. Do you need a staff report?
Yep.
Staff report, please.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. This item is actually a revamping of a travel policy that we put in place a little more than a year ago. And the long and short of it is that in creating a number of rules, we've obviously had the city's financial well-being at heart. That's obviously been the first and foremost in terms of guiding what exactly goes into these policies. One of the unintended consequences of that was that we made it incredibly strict, and it takes away some what I'll call some very just practical nuances that I think that we need to have in terms of our abilities to actually make this policy work the way it's supposed to. One large issue is that we obviously are required to travel take the most economical mode of transportation available. Typically that means that we're sending council members to LAX. When you start taking into account the time, parking, traffic, meaning Ubers and all that kind of thing, flying out of LAX is sometimes not the least economical way of doing it once you start adding all of those components together. Not to mention the fact that we are asking council members and staff to travel away from their homes and to go out and do city business. And the ability to fly into Long Beach or Santa Ana as opposed to LAX saves a significant amount of time one way or the other. So still taking into account what the most economic mode of transportation is, this will give us the ability to actually look at that and see where exactly certain allowances might be made that might make more sense than what is currently written into the policy. And then also one that came to a head here recently is lodging. Just the general idea here is that we try to ensure that we book all of our staff and council members at the hotel that the conference is being stayed at or is being presented at. The reason for that is it cuts down on time outside of the hotel, allows for the connections that need to be made, allows people to get to where they need to be on time, and quite frankly, when it really boils down to it, it's safety as well. We had an incident where the conference hotel was booked. A quick search of the area revealed some very economical choices, and then it became very clear why they were economical choices when the council members got there. And that created a less than safe situation, and one that I as an administrator would not put the staff into. And so I think we owe the city council, who is traveling on our behalf, the same deference and the same look to make sure that we're actually providing a safe environment for the work that you guys are doing out there. So those are the two major changes to this. Don't see this having any large-scale fiscal impact, simply from the standpoint that we budget for travel already. We know what the conferences are. We also are going to make some efforts to, when we just register, that we go ahead right away and book the hotel as well. And then we might have to deal with some cancellation or credits that we accumulate over time. But the nice thing is that a lot of these conferences all end up at the same hotel anyway, and so we can use those things in the future. So I would call this a revamping to a very common sense approach to what exactly a travel policy looks to achieve, with still the same safeguards to ensure that we are being mindful of the taxpayer's dollar.
Thank you. Thank you.
Anything else?
Aye.
Okay, any other questions on this? All right, can I get a motion, please?
I will move it. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, moving on to I, Ms. Doby.
So I would like for an elaboration on what was in the staff report. And I believe, Ron, that was you?
Yes, council member. So this item here is to formalize the neighborhood name change from Apartment Road to Midtown. Part of that is a recommendation to adopt the resolution. So a little bit of background here is, as we all know, Los Alamitos is a very small city. If you minus the Joint Forces Training Base, we're approximately 2 square miles. and we're dividing into 16 neighborhoods. So if you live in Los Alamitos, you're very aware. People take pride in their neighborhood, and they like you heard today in some of the public comments, I'm from this neighborhood, I'm from that neighborhood. So they identify with the neighborhood that they're from. And so what is formerly known as Apartment Row neighborhood is the largest and most dense residential neighborhood in Los Alamitos. It's literally like almost in the middle of Los Alamitos. It's on one side's Farquhar, did it go out? Oh, and the other side's Katella, and on one side is Lexington, and of course Los Al Boulevard. So it's a pretty large area. Again, it's the most dense. It has approximately 1,900 housing units with over 4,000 residents, and so we have a little bit under 12,000 residents. So it's about a third of the city population in that neighborhood. Okay. We did some extensive background or research in terms of trying to find comb through city records. We found out that in circa 1924, this area was once known as City Gardens, and however, we could not find any historical records on why this area was named Apartment Row. And so in early 2024, at the direction of City Council, we did a survey. That survey was done from 1st of June to the end of August in 24, and through that survey, we came back to council with some recommendations, and ultimately, City Council chose the renaming of Apartment Row to Midtown. So this item here is to formalize that name. So when all of us aren't here anymore, 50 years from now, and they say, why did we name this place Midtown? We have historical records on why it was named Midtown and the process we went through.
I would just like to reflect back to what I think is a glorious point that was kind of glossed over. It was never called Apartment Row. That was a name that it picked up as the makeup of the neighborhood began to shift. So we're not changing it from Apartment Row. We're changing it from City Gardens to Midtown. So if anybody's like, hey, this is Apartment Row, it's not, never was. It was City Gardens. But now, thank you, because I live in that neighborhood. And what I can assure you is that I probably pay more in rent than most people pay for their mortgages. And there's a certain pride that I can feel by saying, I live in Midtown. I'm right in the middle of everything. So, thank you. And I make a motion to move it.
Do you have a second?
On the countdown.
I'll second it. All in favor? Aye. Okay, we're up to our discussion item, and I'm going to make an executive decision, and I'm going to flip the two because, Craig, you have to be with us whether you want to be or not. And our beautiful consultants in the back there don't have to endure us for the entire meeting. So I would love to move the seniors master plan up. I'm really excited about this and want to spend some time on it. I know I stress the importance of this plan, as important as our budget or our general plan, considering this is a very large population and a growing population that we have here in Los Al. Us seniors aren't going nowhere. So I'm hoping that all of my colleagues had the opportunity to meet with staff to fully understand what the motivation was, what the future plans are. So enjoy the presentation and we'll go from there.
So, Mayor, before Emmeline starts, I'd just like to say that it's an ambitious undertaking, not just from the standpoint of the mental hurdle, but also the commitment that this council has shown in terms of actually taking this and implementing it and putting it into practice. We are on the razor's edge of this one, right out in front. I believe the county's been working on this. Not a whole lot of cities, especially cities our size, have already started to plan for what I'll call this next evolution of what exactly city services are going to look like. So with that, I will turn it over to Ms. Noda.
Good evening, Mayor, Mayor Pro Tem, and members of the City Council. Implementing a senior services master plan can significantly enhance the well-being of older residents and instill the values of the City of Los Alamitos' visionary efforts to create an ideal community for residents to thrive and age well. By providing best-in-class service to our community, Los Alamitos demonstrates that every age is cared for, especially our older adult population, as their current and future needs are anticipated with thoughtful consideration. By initiating the Senior Services Master Plan as one of the first in Orange County, the City Council is planning well for residents to age with grace and confidence and showing that their community prioritizes health, safety, community engagement, and social connection, inclusivity, mobility, accessibility, resource awareness, and infrastructure investment that will enhance the overall quality of life for older adults. The Senior Services Master Plan will assist the Council in its deliberations regarding strategically investing in and supporting programs, projects, infrastructure decisions, and community plans aimed at addressing the needs of the older adult population aged 50 plus for the next 20 years. The team here in Los Alamitos has always made our seniors a top priority, and from every department that comes to serve our seniors during holiday luncheons to show our appreciation to Dan and Janet Gallagher and all their friends at Senior Club, and the staff that serve and visit with them weekly, this city honors with utmost respect our older adult residents. It is well known that participating seniors in our programs feel the difference of how much care and effort is put into making every senior feel welcome and at home in our programs. We just want to continue this hospitality and expand our offering to continue to make Los Alamitos the prime example of a community that supports its residents to age well in their own community. The past year has been a great experience engaging with the community to gather feedback through a variety of focus groups and a survey to hear wonderful ideas and receive valuable input. We are excited to present to you, Mayor, Mayor Pro Tem, and members of the City Council, the completed draft of the Senior Services Master Plan. With me today is Recreation Manager Jennifer Sisoyev, who took the lead in this project with our Senior Services team, and will introduce you to our Senior Services Master Plan team presenting this evening.
Good evening. It's nice to see you all. My name is Jennifer. I'm one of the recreation managers. It's a good way to start. All right. Try that again. Good evening. My name is Jennifer Sisoyev. I'm one of the recreation managers here with the City of Los Alamitos. Founded in 2022 by gerontology colleagues Dr. Melanie Horn-Mallers and Dr. Laura Zettel-Watson, GeroFusion is a consulting services group with the goals of providing consultation, innovation, and transformation for the aging population and those who serve them. In addition to co-founding GeroFusion, Dr. Melanie Horn-Mallers serves as the Aging Studies Program Coordinator and Professor of Human Services at California State University, Fullerton, my alumni. And Dr. Laura Zettel-Watson serves as the Interim Associate Dean and Professor of Psychology and Aging Studies at California State University, Fullerton. And I'm thrilled to welcome them to the podium to discuss the Senior Services Master Plan.
And can we remove the word old and put experienced? Thank you.
Did I say old? Do a search, find and replace. Good evening. Thank you, Mayor, Mayor Pro Tem, council members, for inviting us here today. We just want to give you a little highlight of the very dense senior plan that you have in front of you. In the interest of time, I will be doing the speaking since Melanie talks too much. That's our last presentation. She said it, not me. Then you get to answer some questions. We want to start by acknowledging everyone who helped make this possible. Obviously, we worked very closely with the Recreation and Community Services team, and that has been an absolutely amazing experience. We've been in the consulting business for the last few years, but we've been in the field for over 20 years, and this by far has been the best team we've ever worked with, and the best city we've ever worked with. So we're already like looking for our retirement spots. A little too far to commute to work right now, but
We got
we're
cast
ready
at
to
Long
move here.
Beach down the street.
Got tenure. But we want to extend our sincerest gratitude to all the folks that helped us out on this project. We ran a series of focus groups, so we had a bunch of community members. We also worked very closely with the Senior Services Advisory Committee, and they had invaluable guidance during this process. The survey respondents, who we'll talk about in just a minute, who shared their time and their perspectives for our needs assessment, absolutely critical. Everybody's contributions really made this possible. So, wanted to let you know that this is coming from a whole bunch of different perspectives. We started at the very beginning looking at the city's original boards, commission, and committee policy handbook, kind of going back to the beginning of Los Alamitos and looking at what founded this community in the first place. Building from there, we used a lot of what is already established in the literature from research based on certain theoretical models. For example, the biopsychosocial model is a way that looks at the entire person as we go through the lifespan. Social ecological model is a model that considers the environment that we're in, so that we are not just in a vacuum, that we're all part of this community. Lots of established wellness pillars that are out there already established in the literature, so things that are associated with well-being. Absolutely looked at other models, other communities. As City Manager Simmons said, this is the cutting edge, so there aren't a lot of people doing it better. But looking at some of the communities that have tried senior plans and things that are working, and some of the best practices out there. We certainly also included some descriptive results and inferential results where possible, based on the research that we conducted here with your community, engaged with the community in the focus groups. We looked at proximity, so what is specific to this community as well as the surrounding area. So Los Alamitos, as you are well aware, is very conveniently located with a lot of your own infrastructure, but also with your surrounding communities. So kind of took that, as well as your local partnerships and collaborations, into consideration. Funding sources is something else that we took a look at, both things that you have already tapped into, like the transportation plan, and other types of funding sources that are still out there to potentially be tapped for this kind of work. Without saying your committed leadership. The five of you on the council, the commissions that we've spoken with already, the leadership team that we've been working with, and the citywide efforts. We've had an opportunity to speak with leaders from the police department and the fire department, developmental services, the transportation plan. So there have been a lot. It's just obvious to us that there is already great support and buy-in from your community leadership. So all of this kind of comes from this idea or foundation that this community can be age-friendly at the same time that it's family-friendly. So being able to create an inclusive, welcoming environment that really works on enhancing the quality of life and the experience in town for people of all ages, especially older adults and their families. So that was sort of the hat we were wearing as we embarked on this. And one of the biggest concepts that we wanted to make sure we were constantly addressing is this idea called aging in place. This is what the majority of older residents want to be able to do. They want to age in place, which means they want to grow older in their own places or the place where they choose. For some people, that is the fancy retirement community down the street. For other folks, it's the house that they've owned since, they first moved to town. So it's giving people that sense of autonomy, that sense of choice, and then helping them figure out how to do that. So this ability to live safely and independently in the place we choose is what we were really focused on when we were looking at what older adults needed, as well as access to the supports and the services that would allow them to do that for as long as possible. So just to kind of very quickly give you an idea of what we did. We came at this from that theoretical perspective from the literature. So here's what we know as gerontologists about aging. And then we went to your community and met with a series of focus groups. And we broke the focus groups into two different types of groups. One group was aging residents themselves. And then the other side of the coin was looking at service providers. individuals who are already working in the service of providing to the older population. So we were getting both perspectives on that. And that allowed us to kind of determine what the specific issues were for this community. So we had a handful of preliminary questions that we would ask of any community, but the focus groups really allowed us to drill down into what was critical for the Los Alamitos residents and for service providers. So through that series of focus groups, we were able to come up with a survey, which we then went back and forth on a variety of variations to kind of get it just right. It ended up being 93 questions long, and some of these are short, quick questions. So it took probably on average about 18 minutes for people to complete. We had a mix of Likert and open-ended scales. The Likert ones are the ones that are like, on a scale of 1 to 5, how would you rate this? And folks would answer in that way. And then a handful of open-ended responses where they could just type in their response. We offered the survey in English, Spanish, and Korean, although every single person who completed the survey did it in English. So we didn't have anyone attempt it in Spanish or Korean. We made it available to community members through both a URL website as well as a QR code, and that was passed out. It was on the city's website. The Recreation and Community Services Department made these really cute postcards that they passed out at all the local events, like Concert in the Park and those kinds of things, that said this is why we want people to participate in it, and there's a little QR code so they could do it on their own. At many events, they had iPads, city's iPads, where people could take it right then and there if they were interested or needed some support to go through it. So the team worked really hard to collect the data from individuals. We were targeting people over the age of 50. We had a handful of folks, in their 20s, 30s, 40s who participated, but just a couple. For the most part, we targeted our results for just those 50 and over. And we ended up with about 300 people attempting at least part of the survey or starting it, and about 201 completed survey responses, which, given that we were looking specifically for 50 and older, that's actually a pretty good response rate given the size of the community and the number of folks who ended up completing. We did, in order to get a good sense, we did a preliminary analysis, and one of the things that came out when we presented that to the Senior Advisory Committee was that there are really big differences between folks who are 55 and folks who are 85 in their experiences. So we wanted to make sure that we were targeting that, and based on our feedback that, our back and forth with the Senior Advisory Group, came up with 3 age groups. So these are not necessarily the ones the literature would break the age groups into, but this is what made most sense for Los Alamitos. We had the younger group, which were the folks that were under 60, so those that between 50 and 59. The middle group was the 60 to 70-year-olds, and then the older group was over 70. And that ended up giving us kind of about 3 equal-sized groups that we could then do some comparisons with.
You mean seasoned group?
Seasoned group, yes.
There's some seasoning all up there.
I love it. I love it. So in terms of, we've got lots and lots of juicy results for you here, but just to give you some highlights. We looked at a variety of different areas here that we broke things down into, and you can see these are the themes that things fell into. And these themes were ones that came up in the focus groups and that we were able to drill down into in the survey itself. So general things that we tended to find is that the group over 70, as expected, reported more limited mobility than the other 2 groups and lower satisfaction with activities. And those seem to be pretty correlated, right? When you've got lower mobility, you're able to do fewer activities. We found that people reporting that businesses tended to be moderately age-friendly, but they did say that accessibility for senior-specific services needs a little bit of improvement. From housing and living, this will surprise no one. Low satisfaction with housing availability, and this was the idea of a mismatch between what their needs were and its availability/affordability, which in Southern California surprises no one. So that is probably, not much within our control, but definitely something that the residents wanted to alert you to. In terms of recreation and lifelong learning, Barriers for some of the younger groups were things like time, cost, caregiving, and parking. For the over 70 group, physical limitations and accessibility. One of the biggest things that we heard was, we would love to go to some of these events, but it would require me to park hundreds of yards away or get dropped off and then walk across what might be a muddy field. So, or when I get there, it's standing only, so I'd have to bring my own chair, which is hard to do if I'm already limited in mobility or if I'm using a mobility assistance device. So those were some of the things to maybe think about in the grand scheme of event planning. In terms of safety and infrastructure, most folks were reporting that navigating the community is fairly simple, particularly compared to other communities. They do recognize that Los Alamitos is putting in the effort and making those kinds of changes. But the older adults were still reporting a few safety challenges, uneven sidewalks, poor lighting, difficulty accessing certain areas. One thing we did find that we're not surprised at, but the number of hours was a little bit higher than what we might have expected to see. In terms of caregiving, the group in the younger group, right, those in the 50s, really reported what we call the sandwich generation experience. These are folks who probably still have school-aged children, but have also moved into a place where they might be also caring for an aging parent or two. And those individuals reported a total of about 54 hours a week that they are caring for an older individual. And so when we put that into context, we definitely see this group participating less in all of the activities. But then you see why, right? These are probably the folks that are still employed, so they're probably working still 40-plus hours a week, and they're reporting caregiving. This is on top of their 40-hour-a-week jobs that they're doing this 50-plus hours of caregiving. So kind of having that in our minds as we plan activities. For many of them, it could be as simple as intergenerational activities where they can get some respite or assistance, where things might be built in to have intergenerational time. Transportation and more mobility. Now, you talked a lot about that earlier today, but many residents, what was interesting is we're kind of unable to think beyond where they currently are. So we're like, well, as you age, do you think you would utilize these transportation services? And they're like, no, I like driving. Well, yes, but later, do you think no, I like my car. Okay, but so we really struggled. That was the one, everything else they could place themselves, but this one I think was just a no-go. I want my car. And then we did look into things like diversity and inclusion, and I think there were no complaints about how the city was doing things, but it seemed like there was no awareness from the residents about what the city was doing in that vein. So these are just highlights of some of the results. But we wanted to give you a quick overview. And then I'm gonna have to move closer because this one's tiny. Maybe I'll take this off. So on the last page of the senior master plan is a copy of this. So you will have this to take in. We went into much greater detail in that last section, that last chapter. But basically what we are wanting to highlight here is this timeline of actions that can be taken next. So first part, big needs analysis, and really went deep into what your population 50 and over needs and what they might be anticipating needing as they age in the city. This is specific to what can we do. And we broke it down into some of the sort of low-hanging fruit, the things that might be achievable quickly, inexpensively, things that we could put into motion pretty quickly, and then kind of moving as we advance into things that are gonna take a few years to put into place. One of the biggest things, and I know that this has already been discussed in certain context, but the idea of having a case manager position at the city level who is an individual. This came up from conversations with both police and fire, that one of the main types of calls that folks get are not necessarily legal or fire related, but they're people needing assistance in some way that might be able to be handled without needing our first responders to be the ones responding. The fire folks in particular had said that it was not uncommon that they would visit one resident 3 times in one night because the person would fall and the spouse couldn't pick them up again. So they'd come, and for some people, it's company. So this is one of those things that if we had somebody who was tapped into the services above and beyond our first responders, we might be able to free up our first responders for the actual emergencies and be able to have this access. This was something else that was a big deal for the local medical providers, who said, if I knew that I was releasing someone from a hospital and they had a case manager, I'd feel much more comfortable knowing that they'd be able to tap into city services than if we're just sending them home blind without any knowledge about what might be available to them to assist them as they recuperate. So those are the kinds of things that a municipal case manager or 2 at some point could do to serve the city. One of the biggest things I think that people really wanted is this idea of a dedicated senior center and senior space. And this came up over and over again, everything from the gym idea. I want to go work out, but I'm not comfortable doing it with a bunch of 20-year-olds. I want a dedicated workout space. Veterans were looking for a dedicated meeting space that is just for them, if they had a room where they could feel safe. That was something else we heard. So in the first couple of years here, we're hoping that there's focus and thought on how to expand that infrastructure, expand facilities in order to create some space dedicated to the aging population. Come back down to that in a little bit, because that is an ongoing project. Working with collaborations and partnerships. This is a really big deal in terms of everything from making sure people are on track from a health perspective. Things that are simple to put into place and really helpful are community health screenings that can be offered to people of all ages, but really help people access simple things, and then they know when they need to go see somebody for something more serious. Lifelong learning, you are really close to Cal State Long Beach.
Go Beach.
Yeah. So we're big fans. We're at Fullerton, but we're big fans. And they have an incredible center dedicated to aging. They've got an aging studies or gerontology department. They've got an OSHA Lifelong Learning Institute. There are a lot of untapped resources there, and I think they'd be really excited to partner in lots of different ways. Working on caregiver support and relief programs. We talked a little about caregivers. Veterans-focused initiatives. Given that there is a large retired veteran community, that is something that the city can offer and could happen at low to no cost. Hobby-based and lifelong learning opportunities, recreational programming. This is something with a few more dollars can really expand the offerings that are out there now. The city already, they love the offerings. There was no question. The seniors were really excited about what was being offered. They just wanted more. They wanted more of the exercise classes. And I'm forgetting her name right now. Molly's class. Oh, we went there, it was standing room only. We popped in on one, and how many, there were like,
100.
It was at capacity.
Yeah.
It was incredible. And they were like, we want Molly here every day, hours a day. And it was just this incredible experience. So more programming like that. They want more hours. They want it offered more frequently so it fits in their schedule so they can do all the other fun things. Citywide transportation program. So this is a place where you can get grant funding for those kinds of programs. And speaking of that, we really think an early step should be partnering with a grant writer, hiring somebody to do that for the city. That is an upfront expense that can keep paying dividends, because the more you reach out and you get a grant. You're successful getting a transportation grant. You're successful getting a veterans grant. You use those types of things, and you use this kind of a plan to say, we've done the research, we have the data, here's how these things work, here's how we have responsibly used this grant in a success over here. Then they just start to snowball, because each time you're successful, that's another feather in your cap that somebody else says, this is a city doing it right, let's give them more money. So we see the investment in a grant writer as kind of that initial step to help get a lot of these other things funded. In the following years, 2 through 4, we're thinking things like fitness and wellness expansion programs, senior club celebrations. That's a place where a lot of folks are already excited. You get great attendance at things like the senior prom, those kinds of things. Expanding that kind of programming, super helpful. Collaborating, finding ways to collaborate with fire, first responders. Age-friendly businesses is another place. This town is, we saw the Donut Boss here today, right? Like that's another small business where you have people coming into the community, investing in it for their livelihoods. Those are committed small businesses that the partnerships are so ripe to be able to go in and collaborate here. Los Alamitos, I don't want to get the statistic wrong, but Los Alamitos is also the most nonprofits.
Per capita.
See, we're already moved here. Most nonprofits per capita. That's massive. That's a huge, huge benefit to the community. So being able to capitalize on that a bit. One of the other things too, going forward a few more years when you get a lot of these things rolling, a sister city program. There are so many communities across the globe that have really unique ways of doing things. We've both spent some time in Japan, completely unrelated to this program or before we knew each other, but they've got some really cool ways that they are tapping into aging communities because they're a very upside down population, lots of older adults, very few younger people. So they've had to think of a whole bunch of outside the box strategies to figure out how to best serve a population when there aren't enough caregivers. And they've got more 100-year-olds than any place else. So partnering with a city that's already figured out some of these outside the box things and exchanging that information can be critical. And then senior home assessments, having a grant program for helping people fix things in their home. That was another huge thing that we heard from focus group residents is, I don't need things, but like I've got these flowers and it's hard for me to plant them. Or my garage door is broken. Or, I need help taking out the trash on Thursday. Otherwise I can stay home, but I can't roll the bin out. Little things like that, very, very specific. Everybody had very specific examples. But thinking about ways, thinking outside the box, figuring out neighbor helping neighbor types of programs, and potentially some grants for getting some easy things fixed at home that allow people to stay in their homes longer. And then really focusing on kind of all of this in the grand scheme of things. I think the biggest wish is that facility, that senior-specific facility. This is not something you can develop in a year or even two, but this, in terms of the long-term build, is on the top of everyone's wish list. This place that they can go, whether it has things like a pool, but senior-specific, where they, they're not against intergenerational programming with their families, but they really desired their own space. So those kinds of pieces. Any other big? How much do you want me to talk? Yeah, they're tired. No, I'm the boring one. I'm the boring but faster. So yes, we do have time for questions, obviously, if you have any, and then I will let you talk a little bit.
I know, I'll open it up to my colleagues, but I know there were a few things that really highlighted from the surveys that horrified me more than anything. From the surveys, 9% consider themselves living in poverty. This is in Los Alamitos. 15% of them suffer from food insecurity. This is in Los Alamitos. And a big, not fear, but just lack of socialization. COVID did a number on our seasoned citizens. And, kids are resilient and they can bounce back and get out of that. But our seniors struggle with that still to this day. So I look at these top three things, and this is something we can fix very, very quickly. We take care of our kids very, very well. Our seniors should be just as much of a priority. They are our legacy. They're the reason that we're a great city because they've been living here for so long. A lot of them have lived here for decades. So I just want to thank you too for your expertise on all of this and kind of pushing us in the right direction and giving us a laundry list for the next 5 years of what we need to do. And I'm excited about this, and I'm hoping my colleagues will support anything we need to do, and then we'll figure out where the money's coming from. I know we have a couple of hospitals that are nearby that would like some naming rights to something, so I'm sure we could probably get on their calendars. And just really let's take care of our seniors, because I know my mom's 80 years old, and if she's doing okay, I'm doing okay. So, and if my kids are doing okay, I'm lucky. But it's my mom that, you know, brings more thought to me than anything else right now. So with that, I'll open it up for any questions or comments from my colleagues.
My only comment, and I sat, and Emmeline did y'all well. You should be proud, because she sat with me. I did the preview to the main event. And my only consideration is we are, like 40% seniors, and then probably about an equal number children. So it's really the balance. How do we balance taking care of our senior population? And Emmeline was kind of sharing with me, but as a mother with school-age children and someone who takes care of a mother, it's how do we make sure that I do not want to forsake one over the other. I do not want to prefer one over the other. And I realize that that's going to be a nice tightrope, but it is our reality. So is there consideration to how those programs will work? Like, you know, you had mentioned, I think one of the last bullets was some of the people like, I just need my trash cans drug out, or I just need somebody to come help me with these flowers. That sounds like something great that, you know, some high school volunteers, middle school volunteers that are not necessarily related but can restore the hope in the young people to the seniors, because I know oftentimes they look at them like, those doggone e-bike riding rascals. But you have some young people. Oh, here it's e-bikes without helmets and with AirPods in. Ain't my kids, because I'm not buying an e-bike. But anyway, just trying to keep that on a radar. So I get that people don't want to cross family lines per se, but we still have to take care of and be very mindful of both.
So this is my baby, and I will try not to talk too much.
I will fall asleep.
I know you will, and you let us know you're ready to go. Los Alamitos really is a very unique city with an incredibly strong history foundation. I don't personally believe, based on the data we collected and what we know about even hearing your residents today, you have to, the tightrope walking isn't going to be as delicate as you think. One of the wonderful things, as Laura mentioned, is the numerous nonprofits you have, which serve the whole family. Intergenerational programs, we know there's tremendous benefit in terms of decreasing ageism among children, improving well-being among older adults, et cetera. And a lot of the grants that are available, let's say, for example, a arts grant, that can be built into the schools and this wellness center. The funding can go to create an intergenerational art program. We got word that a lot of the older adults don't want to spend more time or don't want to take classes with their children because they're already spending time with them. You have a very active, healthy population. But when you tell them the benefits of it, they're like, oh, okay, I'd like to do that. One of the biggest conversations we had was probably for about a half hour, older adults not talking about what we wanted to talk about, but talking about how much they worry about the children. So I don't think your city is going to have a problem maximizing the grant funding that's available to benefit the entire family. This is aging in place, but this is really about community and family in place. We did hear a couple of residents say that they're moving out of Los Alamitos. They cannot afford to live here, and they're worrying about how to take care of their aging parents. There's grant funding for that. It's not that we're chasing the grant funding. You would hire grant writers to be very intentional about how to get the money that is going to be sustainable and long-term. That's what NIA, et cetera, wants for their aging population. The one thing that drives, I guess, our commitment to this, and the one thing that we saw really resonated in this city, is this belief that, and I shared this before, there's no disabled people, there's only disabling communities. And so you extrapolate that to creating an environment and getting all of the significant leaders on board. Even the ATP project that was discussed, there needs to be an aging lens in there. So there are grants related to transportation that can help as long as you're referencing this is going to support an aging adult. This really is, aging is multidisciplinary and holistic, and it wraps around. So there's a lot of things you can do that will have tremendous benefits to multiple aspects of aging and families and well-being. I don't know if that answers your question, because that tends to be what I do, but it is a concern that is valid. I don't think it's going to be I don't think the anticipation of the severity is going to be what you anticipate. Your city is really, really prepared to take on a lot of these things.
Can I also interject, just it might address part of your question? We already have programs in place that are intergenerational in City of Los Alamitos, where we help our residents 50 plus. It's a matter of having them understand and reach out and filling out a form or just calling maybe a caseworker and notifying that they need this flowers planted or whatnot. We have a volunteer program, ages 11 to 17, and we send them out already. But it's really getting the word out, and so the local loop could be a great resource for that, because even though we have e-news and social media and all the other electronic means of communication, this newspaper, even our recreation brochure, it's like 50 pages. So to comb through that is a little difficult, but this local loop could solve some of those issues of just getting the word out that we already have the service.
And I realize, to address your question more specifically, it is not difficult to create more intergenerational programs with high school students. They need volunteer hours to graduate. You have undergrads and master level students at Cal State Long Beach, Cal State Fullerton too, of course, who need to do 60 to 120 hour internships. Again, you have so many resources around you that with some creativity and innovation and thinking both macro and micro and looking at really the whole ecological system around your city, there's a lot of intersection that can happen with tremendous long-term sustainable benefits. And yeah, the report is dense, but we hope that we sort of teased out for you where some of those overlaps could be.
I just broad question. What are some cities around here in Orange County that are implementing this and doing it well?
We're going to use you as an example for the next city that asks.
I don't totally feel comfortable answering that question because there's weaknesses and strengths in every city. So your city is top notch. It truly is the heart. We do joke we're going to move into the mobile home park.
What do you think separates it? You guys are professionals, right? We're just council
Okay.
members. This is what you guys do. So to me, that's a big statement. All of Orange County, or LA County, if we want to consider across the orange border. But that's a lot of opportunity to say this city is doing this part well.
Okay,
I'm surprised by your answer.
For example, Irvine. Not close to here, but I'm just using that as an example. They have a strong master plan in terms of how the city is being developed.
Yes.
Aging was not necessarily the guiding theme creating it, but it was sort of an afterthought. The one thing that I think demarcates Los Alamitos and its potential is to maintain the small town feel and the individualism. Irvine is tremendous strengths, but very cookie cutter, very prescribed. That is not necessarily a benefit for aging because there's so much individual variability in how we age. This truly is, this plan and the people that you have is about meeting really the individual needs for that older adult, for that specific person and family. That's probably all I can say because I shouldn't talk anymore.
Well, I know Dan and Janet, I'm sorry to put you on the spot, but they have.
That's why they're here.
And, they have personally told me their story of moving from Long Beach, where they were there for 30, 40 years, and 58, and moved here specifically to have that small town feel. And they have found it, and we roped them in to be senior club president, Parks and Rec Commission, Los Alamitos Community Foundation, and they have found the connection and that social purpose and importance of belonging in a community. Thank you for sitting here so I can use you as my example. But that is just one example of why people move here.
I guess my question would be, would you attribute that to a smaller population? I mean, obviously Long Beach is huge and Los Al is smaller. Is that what it is? It's fewer people?
Just great. I've told Jeff this a couple of times. This is small city USA, and it's what we've always thought about. I mean, we've had a cabin in Big Bear, and that's considered a small city, but that's way, way, way. This is small city USA with the environment, with I don't know, the community action, everything that we have been looking for, and we really couldn't find it in Long Beach, which was way, way too big for us.
Yeah, I think a lot of it is too, like in Long Beach, if you look at their priorities, they have such huge issues as far as homeless and crime, so they don't have the time to really individualize on the seniors. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. And we're saying, well, it's not broke, but it vastly needs to be improved. And we don't have all the other distractors from some of the larger cities that have those issues to deal with. We do have them, but not to that magnitude, so we're able to really individualize even our kids' programming and different things like that because we don't have those distractors.
Mayor, thank you for sharing that, and also personally for the passion you bring to this topic. Things aren't broken, don't fix it. And this is one of the biggest issues in the aging field is people aren't aware of what's going to become broken. That anticipation, and that's what this city does. Your leadership here anticipates what the needs are and is already trying to prepare for it. The other piece of this, actually, I'll pause. I'm really working on not talking.
Madam Mayor, I drive for Enterprise, and I drive to different cities all over Southern California. And I tell you, when I drive back home, when coming up Spring Street and coming down to our little dome and on Oak Street, it's just, you just feel safe, and that's to the chief. There's no homeless. We got a few people that wander around and need some help, but it's just not like in other cities. There's no tents. There's no, you can walk down any sidewalk you want to walk. That's what they call it, city walk. You can walk anywhere, and you can't do that in a lot of these other cities. And I really appreciate that, and I thank God that we decided to move here. And every the city council, the fire chief, the chief of police, city manager, and of course, Arlene,
God, we love you, Janet.
her favorite,
Oh.
everybody.
There's somebody's?
No, it's just, I don't know, it's very nice. We just couldn't do this. And so, working with these two ladies was very nice. We were on the advisory committee and hopefully gave some good input and whatever, but working with them, they come up with this. And I think it's great. I think it's wonderful. That's what we're here for.
I have to, though, with full transparency and part of our ethical commitment to the field, we don't want to mask over, there are things that need to be fixed. There is what we call an iceberg effect, where you only see the tip of the problem, but underneath there is more. We did not ask questions specifically about, let's say, elder abuse, or we didn't get into those kinds of things, but we have to anticipate that it exists. You may have seen, okay, yes, you have. And the housing is an issue. Your city is very lucky that you're not seeing encampments. And I don't necessarily think it's only because of the size of the city. I think it's partly because of the historical momentum you've created. We were very intentional about looking at the history of your city because that matters. And I also want to just say, Laura and I really believe in this project, and we've been asked to do consulting for other cities and et cetera. This has been with ethics and commitment and true commitment to your aging population. So it's been a pleasure to work with you, but it's also just as professionals, it's so satisfying to work with people who actually really care, and you have the resources to do this, and you're very fortunate in that sense.
Thank you. Any other comments, questions?
I have one question. I'm a millennial, I was born in the 80s, so this is not a topic I think of very often. I think this, I'm pretty confident this has our full council support. As someone, not just for myself, for other millennials or those of us that we're not really dealing with this yet, if you had one thing to leave us with while we're working this program out, what would you suggest to my generation?
Literally talked about that in class with my students today, who are not millennials, but care for your older adults, care for the aging adults in your lives, learn from them, watch them, invest in them, build relationships with them. That's where the learning is going to happen. Obviously, the other piece of it in terms of helping you to successfully age is for you to start understanding what you can do now to invest in your health. I mean, again, we could spend hours talking about primary and secondary aging and lifestyle factors and how to change your cellular health at the mitochondria level. You can do things now to help you successfully age. The majority of diseases in the United States is lifestyle-based. It's not age-caused. And that's the kind of information you can get out to your high school students. They'll listen, but a lot of students who come into our classes are like, what is gerontology? Do you study rocks? Once they, that's not gerontology. Once they're in the class and they hear it with passion and that they're in control of this, they're hooked. And we also think that it needs to be part of the curricula in everyone's high school experience. And there needs to be a lot more training in terms of making you an aging specialist, making you an age-friendly city, putting you on the map with the World Health Organization among the top age-friendly cities. And Laura mentioned also age-friendly businesses. The Donut King is a perfect place to springboard a new idea where they give a senior discount, maybe call a donut like senior age, I don't know, I'm not a marketing person. You can work on that. But to really let them know that you could go shopping, because you're marketing, not older. You can go shopping in your community and get to know the people, who are walking on the streets with you. The other thing, I know you're doing a reverse triathlon.
Who is?
You're doing a reverse triathlon.
She is.
5K.
She lied to you. Don't let her lie to you.
This is always, everything that's happening in your city needs to be with an aging lens. You need to highlight the older adults who are running that. We have older adults who are doing the Senior Olympics, javelin still. I have a friend who does pole vaulting. She's 80. Highlight that. Put that into your newspaper. Older adults want to be celebrated. They deserve to be celebrated.
And that helps break stereotypes.
Yeah.
When you have an 80-year-old pole that's vaulting, that helps the kids understand, 80 can look very different than how it's sounding in my head.
I'm officially going to stop.
Thank you. Thank you so much for the opportunity.
Thank you.
Thank you. And good luck with the 5K. So keep running. That's some of my style advice.
Okay, thank you very much. And I know the Community Foundation has already picked the senior plan as their priority this year to be able to help some seed money with that. Not a building, but maybe other stuff. So with that, if there are no changes from anybody, it doesn't sound like there are, can I get a motion to adopt resolution number 2025-04?
Second.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
All right,
Aye, enthusiastically.
all right. Carry on. When do we break ground?
We've already started.
Okay,
I-
perfect. I have ideas. Okay, now we're going to go back to item A, which is the mid-year general fund budget. Craig, you will get a lot of points if we go quickly.
So,
Guaranteed.
without me interrupting him, so I'm going to do it right up front. I did want to mention that the departments and Craig and his team did a great job in putting this all together, and Craig and I joke around a lot that we have yet to have a normal year in terms of budgeting. We've gone from run up to COVID relief to, potential downturn in the economy to soft landing to inflation to trying to decide what exactly the world's going to look like in 6 months. But one thing that I'm constantly impressed by Craig and his team about is their ability to hit the mark, so to speak, when it comes to what exactly the revenue projections are going to look like. So with that, I'll turn it over to Craig.
Thank you, City Manager Simmons. Good evening, Mayor, Mayor Pro Tem, and Council and staff. Tonight we present the mid-year budget review for fiscal year 24-25. As you recall, the budget was adopted on May 20th, 24. At that time, we estimated about a $900,000 surplus. However, since that time, City has incurred additional infrastructure costs, extensive CIP paid out, particularly in the first half of 24-25. This has been primarily covered by maturing investments. These projects include the recreation roof, building repairs, street repairs, park renovation, and other city infrastructure and cost repairs. Just to highlight on the economic update, a report from HDL back in January, mid-January, and also Beacon Economics Winter 2025. Seems like the interest rates and consumer spending and gasoline prices are the strongest drivers right now for the economy. The Fed had made some previous moves back in 24, dropping 100 basis points. There's no further changes predicted for currently, but possibly more cuts predicted in the balance of 25. Sales tax is expected to remain flat for the balance of the fiscal year. And then other policy changes, obviously by the Washington's new administration, could affect prices, which include tightening on immigration, tariffs now on major trade partners, and other domestic shifts. As a reminder, the mid-year report is a snapshot in time, reflects recorded information through December 31st, and it's also a projection of fiscal 25 at June 30. Look at on slide 4, quickly, we have budget revenues of about 24 million. We're about halfway through for actual through December. Projection is up over the budget, approximately $1.1 million, and I'll cover some details on that. Main takeaways here, overall revenues are up about 4% over the adopted budget. Reminder that property sales tax and Measure Y is the largest producers at 2/3 of the revenues generated by the city and collected. Sales taxes continue to be flat, and this will see some offset by other revenue categories that are showing stronger performance. One of the largest revenue categories is obviously property tax. Residential prices responding to lower inventory and missed, even with higher interest in place. The median sales price of a detached single-family residential home in Los Alamitos from January through August of 24 was $1.26 million. This represents a slight decrease of about 4% in median sales price over the prior calendar year. Other tax categories include sales and use taxes, which is Bradley Burns, a Measure Y local sales tax, and business licenses. Sales tax is predicted to be up 0.6%, which was as of 3Q24. And even though the state and the county were down approximately 2.3%. The estimate for 25 is $3.7 million. This will be 1.2% lower than the adopted budget. Measure Y, on the other hand, is predicted to be at $6.1 million, 0.6% over the budget, and this will offset the deduction or decrease in the sales tax. The other strong category is business licenses, trending higher at 487,000, projected to be over the budget and reflects strong business license activity. Another revenue categories are UUT, projections to be up 250,000, mainly for water and electric utility rates. Fines and forfeitures, the red cameras now are fully functional. They include additional approaches that were installed. Revenue is expected to exceed the prior year when we had all the downtime. Parking fines and moving violations now fully staffed as well. Overall revenues for fines and forfeitures categories approximately up 200,000. It's important to remember here this provides offsets to the police department programs and operations to cover their programs. Looking at expenditures, we have budgeted expenditures of, the notes here, sorry. Approximately 23 million. We're about 50% through December. Projected to be up about 24.4 for projection. Variance up on general fund expenditures up about 400,000. The takeaways on expenditures, projected department expenditures are reflecting under and overages. Additional general fund appropriations are requested for items previously approved by the City Council. These include categories that are showing overages for certain departments. One is the city attorney. Appropriation of 60,000 is requested to cover higher legal service costs, mainly for litigation and other legal matters. Development services, requesting appropriation of 432,000. This covers previous council-approved items, which was mainly the modular building purchase, 332,000. The access control system, 155,000. There was some offset for savings in the Economic Development Division with a vacancy that was projected through the end of the fiscal year. And on the non-departmental higher ed contractual costs, credit card fees, for example, or appropriation of 124,000 is needed to cover and close the budget gap there.
I just want to make one clarification there, simply because the slide is, the titling, this is how we title it in the budget, but I can see how it could be misunderstood or misconstrued. This doesn't mean we're paying an extra 60K to my colleague here. It's really for work that has been done outside of the city attorney's office, other attorneys that we've had to reference for special projects or for expert advice. So I just want to make that clear that it's not a reflection of our contract with the city attorney. Thank you, Craig.
Thank you. Some departments, on the other hand, are trending lower. One of these is finance. We had a partial year for the finance manager. She was hired in the middle of November. Police has cost savings, emergency preparedness. K-9 has partial year of operation as well. And recreation has lower expenditures for sports classes, youth, basketball, adult soccer, and volleyball. And supply costs for special events is going to be projected to be lower. On the other funds, we just need additional fund transfers from the general fund. Let's cover 3 of these funds. One is a vehicle equipment replacement, Fund 50. This is due to higher expenditures and lease costs related to new GASB reporting rules. We need additional transfer of 200,000 is requested here. Facility, streets, parks, Fund 52. This is cover the community center roof that was approved by council in October of 23. This was funded by 675,000 was charged to this fund. This will be eventually reimbursed through FEMA. And then Technology and Replacement Fund 53, 200,000 requested for higher projected costs for equipment, computers, and software. So appropriations request summary, staff seeking directions for additional appropriations for the general fund, 60,000 for the city attorney, 332,000, 150, and 155,000 for development services, previously approved by council, 124,000 for non-departmental, for a total of 671,000 for general fund, and then on additional funds, Fund 50, 200,000, Fund 52, 675, and Fund 53, 200 for a total of 1,075,000. Total additional appropriations of 1,746,000. Summing up, we're asking the council to provide direction and comments, and for your consideration, additional appropriations requested for approval. With that, I would look forward to your questions. Thank you.
Okay, bring it back to council. Does anybody have any questions?
I just want to clarify the 675 is expected to be a reimbursement, so we're paying it, and then we will get it back when FEMA opens the checkbook.
That's correct.
Thank you.
Anybody else?
A quick question. Regarding the business licenses, how frequently do we audit that in that, HDL compares businesses registered with the Secretary of State with addresses here in Los Alamitos?
I believe they're constantly reviewing the active businesses.
It's an ongoing effort
Compliance
that
effort.
we do with them. I will say this too, though, and I'll hand it to the Development Services Department. Partnering with HDL on that front has actually been, I think, beneficial in terms of not only just having HDL's expertise, but then being able to spur on responses to the actual notices. So again, I think code enforcement and then ultimately our economic development team will be able to help and hopefully push that number to 100% compliance, because that is the goal at the end of the day, is just compliance. We're not in the business, and I'm sure the chief would say this too, we're on the business of writing tickets just for the sake of writing tickets. We're writing them in order to make sure that people are following the rules, that there's an even playing field, and much like when people go out and park, if you need to park where you're allowed to park, and if you're not going to park where you're allowed to park, then you probably need to be fined until that behavior goes away.
Thank you. My other question has to do with cost recovery, non-departmental. You just mentioned credit card fees. I brought this up last year, so particularly regards to our classes. If someone goes online, they register for it. The city has been absorbing that cost, whatever that is, 2 points, something like that. Where are we at with that?
That's going to be included in the cost recovery proposed plan that we would cover for those costs.
The council will have the opportunity to decide whether or not you wish to recover a full percent. Let's just say it's 3% per transaction, because that's generally.
What is it? What is the actual percentage?
I think it depends on which card it is.
Depends on the card.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so all that being said, the cost recovery study, when that comes to the council for consideration, you'll all be able to decide if that's an element that you want to take into consideration or not.
And when should we expect to see that?
Prior.
I think we're a year in now.
During the budget process.
Oh, okay, a few months.
Yes.
Last question, regarding technology replacement, $200K for equipment, computers, and software. What specifics are we looking for?
Well, on the software side, one of their specifics was the APL readers. That was additional, I think, 36,000. That was one of the big items.
And how many readers is that for?
I'd have to have the PD answer for that.
I think it's 10.
10 cameras for 30-some thousand?
It's
12 all of them? It's 12 cameras. Okay.
And then also, I'd like to point out that part of that appropriation also goes to, obviously, the things that you can't budget for. Case in point, the infiltration or the cyber attacks that I think a lot of cities have experienced over the last couple of years. We obviously were a target of one of those, but shutting down the system and protecting data, obviously step number one, which I think we accomplished very well. Step number two is then turning your system back on and figuring out where exactly different data breaches might have had entry points where additional security can be layered in. So some of that money will go into that effort as well, or is going into that effort as well.
Okay, so besides the cameras, equipment, computers, and software, what else are we looking at? If the cameras are, let's say, $40K.
The service contract time.
I can assist with that. So because of a lack of, for the several years, we've been working with old computers. For instance, I'll give you one example.
Like desktop computers?
Desktop computers, laptop computers. Right now, we're formalizing a IT replacement plan, but our IT consultant is basically saying that for a laptop, for instance, you have to replace it every 3 years. For a desktop, you have to replace it every 5 years.
And are these custom builds, or is these stock, stock RAM, stock hard drives?
They're stock computers, but again, it takes hours for them to set it up, connect it to our network. Because of the hack, we purchased additional software for security. You know, now we have a double authentication security system in place that's on all laptops and cell phones, for instance. Software includes Adobe software for the team or the staff to do work. Microsoft 365 licensing, that's emails. We're even attaching it, looking to doing our phones because it's with Teams. So, you know, and then just flat out, we have more employees, we need more computers, we need
How many
more email.
computers? I'm just looking at 200K. I understand it. I'm just looking for where, if we're at about 50K, the software, I understand the software. Where's the hardware to make up that 150,000?
Well, again, I don't know off the top of each line item budget, but, you know, we got servers. Servers are around 30K a piece, right, that we had to replace.
So how many servers? I'm just
Yeah,
trying to get
I
like
don't know
a-
off the top of my head, council member, but again, it's software, it's time. You know, we have a base contract with our consultant because of the cybersecurity issue that we had. They had to go into overtime, and so that's a large chunk right there. Yeah.
The service contract?
Yeah, because of the overtime to protect us from the cybersecurity hack. So that 200,000 is all encompassing. I don't know off the top of my head the line item for each one, but that's what we're projecting.
When we have that, could I see that? I'm really curious how we arrive at the 200K. I'm obviously not tonight. I know it's needed, but I am curious. It seems really high.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, anything else? All right, have we provided direction and comments for you?
Yes.
Perfect. So nothing to vote on.
So I believe there is an item to vote on, which would be, and correct me if I'm wrong, Craig, but I think it would be approval of the mid-year budget, including the additional appropriations totaling $1,746,000 as outlined in the staff report.
Okay.
Yes,
all right.
thank you.
Okay, so do I have a motion and a second?
I will move it.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right. Last piece, annual retention goals and performance achievement bonus for executive management and middle management non-represented employees. Staff report, please.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So this item is actually, it's the culmination of what I'll call 3 years of labor negotiations where we've really been working on different ways to ensure that we're not only being able to hire the best, but being able to retain the best employees. Obviously, as a small city, everybody wears multiple hats. There's very few people that I think you'll see sitting over here that don't have either 3 or 4 different titles. And as you noticed from earlier tonight, we are obviously trying a lot of new and exciting things. We are looking to borrow a page from the private sector in terms of performance goals and such. This would create a bonus for performance for both the managers and the executive team in order to basically set some really lofty goals for each individual through their annual performance evaluation. Talk about what exactly can be achieved and how they line up with our overall goals and objectives for the city. And then obviously set them forth to go and work on it. One of the nice things about this is that it does, again, act as a retention tool to keep people interested. It does also allow management to set new goals and new objectives for each one of the department heads to allow us to, stretch them in different ways that maybe they normally wouldn't have been stretched in the past, and to take on different areas that we haven't yet quite done in the city. A perfect example would be a big shift on economic development, or a big shift where we focus on communications. We've been able to do that by largely tapping in-house staff to be able to handle it. The one that I always find is the greatest example for everything is actually our community development director. By pulling him out of recreation and shoving him into different fields, we now have a fully functioning development services team, both on the public works side and on the development services side. By creating incentives for our department heads and our managers to work at these goals, I think that we not only gain some buy-in, but also all of our employees have a personal stake in ensuring that we see these projects get over the finish line. This is I'll call it a pilot program. I do like the idea that we can push this down to all segments of the organization. We do need to try it first. I think that there's a lot of, and I'm very aware of it, government trying to enact private sector solutions. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. In this case, I think that this is a program worth trying, and also in terms of just the benefit to the employee, if they are willing to work hard and achieve these goals, and I hope they all do, we can get them that much closer to what would be, I'll call a median salary throughout the county for the jobs that they're doing.
Okay, back to council. Any questions or comments? All right, so can I entertain a motion to adopt resolution 2025-05?
I move it.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right. Council announcements. Start to my left with Councilmember Hibbard.
Thank you. Let's see. Last week I joined the Daughters of the American Revolution Los Cerritos chapter and dedicated a plaque at Liberty Community Plaza in Whittier with LA County Supervisor Janice Hahn. The Daughters of the American Revolution is a service group, descendants, so patriots that fought in the 1776 American Revolution. They have descendants, of which I am one of them. So I am the descendant of a farmer from Pennsylvania who fought in the American Revolution. And with the 250th anniversary of our beautiful country next year, this service organization is very active with that. So I got to participate with my particular chapter last week. I attended the Rotary's Valentine's Day lunch to support local nonprofits. That was a lot of fun and exciting, seeing everyone bid. I attended the groundbreaking ceremony at Labradette Park, the ribbon cutting ceremony 5 hours ago, and Leif's Night Out fundraiser to support them in all their efforts to support our students. One of the funniest things I thought it was funny. So I'm a big advocate of transparency, particularly fiscal transparency, especially on city council. So I have this newsletter, I call it Hibbard Highlights. I send it out, I don't know, once a month or maybe less than that if I'm lazy. So I thought to start the year off, I will include a copy of my city's W-2 and how much I have contributed to the city's mandatory retirement plan, the 457B retirement plan. It shows that city council that we make $2.30 per hour. And I think we contribute about $500, maybe $400 a year to our retirement plan. So I sent that out to all my neighbors, and the responses were comical, to say the least. Apparently, no one else puts their financials out there. I really don't care. I think we make like $400 or $350 a month at City Council. But as a way to be transparent with politicians are typically known for being corrupt and swindlers and all the bad stuff. So on a very small level, I thought I'd share my personal finance with Los Alamitos. And everyone loved it. So I would encourage everyone to do the same. Thank you.
Councilmember Nafolda.
Yeah, I also attended the commissioners' dinner. The food was excellent, local restaurant, and just again, thank you to all the commissioners who volunteered their time. I did go to the Stearns Park ribbon cutting ceremony. A lot of kids were there, and I know that my son and his friends can't wait to use that facility. So good job, with the parks, and I know we got a couple more coming online. Went to the OC-SAN board meeting, and if anybody's interested, they have a virtual wastewater 101 Citizens Academy. If you have any interest in wastewater, it's like a 4-week program. You can go to workshops. The information is on the OC-SAN website. That's it. That's it.
That's it, okay. Sorry, I phased out for a moment there. I'm sorry, we're still in a meeting. Oops. Councilmember Lowe.
Sure, thank you. So I'll be quick. Good evening, LaSalle, which was a great event. Also attended the California League of Cities Conference, and I wanted to special thanks to Chet Simmons and Emily Noda for helping me out with that conference. That was a good time. Also Labradette Park, Commissioner Dinner, and Stearns Park. I'll turn it over.
we're gonna close it out with MPT Dobie.
All right. Just so for everyone's, I'm not gonna say that. It's past my bedtime, y'all. So, yes, ribbon cutting for Stearns Park, groundbreaking at Labradette Park. I love the park things. My babies were raised at the parks, so those bring a special smile to my face. Mayor had the brilliant idea to involve the babies, they're not babies, but the children in the ribbon cutting. And so we ran around and got all the parents' permissions. We didn't want to we was kidnapping anybody's cheering, but they were a part of it, and I think that's stuff like that makes my heart happy. I also went to the Leif Foundation night out, and although I did not win any raffles this time, it's always a great time supporting our local schools. I went to my board meetings for all the boards that I'm on. I also went to the Good Evening LosAl event, and it was really a phenomenal moment to kind of check in, but then also look forward with all of our department heads. I think our staff does a spectacular job. You can see the engagement with the residents that showed up. I thought we had a really good turnout, and the food was also a bonus. I went to my last Community Economic Development and Housing Committee meeting, and they shared a whole lot. The main focus was on disaster preparedness. So it struck a chord with me because they said one of the hardest things about trying to recover in the different disaster areas is there was no recovery process. There was no recovery plan. So then, as soon as I left that meeting, I called the city manager. I was like, hey, do we have a recovery plan? He says, we will look into that. So that is why these outside agencies, these larger groups of people, they really come in handy to a small situation like us, because why would we think of that? Like, what's our disaster going to be? What's going to hit us? You never know until it does. And having a recovery portion, I think, would be spectacular. And then the last thing was I sat in a training on behested payments. So now when I don't make requests for money, I know who to send the people to so that I don't have yet another form that I have to fill out, because I fill them out, but I don't like them. And that's it.
That's it
for me.
All right, with that, our meeting is adjourned. We wish you all a good night.
Mayor, for clarification, we're adjourned to Monday, March 24th at 6 p.m.
Exactly. Thank you.